Big Dumb Movie is a comedic podcast that often contains obscene language and outlandish commentary. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to Big Dumb Movie, where we discuss movies of the Christmas variety. I'm your host, Korey, and I'm joined with my longtime friend, Jonathan.
Hey, guys.
As well as Ronnie from the Wasted Potential podcast.
Ho, ho, ho.
And lastly, the third sticky bandit, if you will, Pappy from the podcast Spoilers.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Ooh.
You've been waiting all year for that, haven't you?
I have, yes.
Well, guys, it's Christmas time. We're here to discuss a very special Christmas movie, one that was requested by Joshua Petre on Instagram. Thank you very much for sending in this request. This movie is a sequel to a very well-beloved movie, but maybe a sequel that let some people down. It certainly didn't let people down as much as Home Alone 3, right? But I think there was some circles where it's like, well, Home Alone 2 was kind of the lesser of the bunch. So with that in mind, I want to start our discussion today talking about disappointing sequels, maybe movie sequels that are personally disappointing to you. I have quite a few here, so before I jump into my huge list, I'm going to actually toss it over to Pappy. Pappy, what's a sequel that maybe let you down?
Yeah, I have a couple too. I think on Big Dumb Movie, I've talked about Return to Oz and how that freaked out my entire family as a kid when we gathered around the TV to watch it. I thought of Wreck-It Ralph 2. That movie sucked a lot. And just like Toy Story 4, not so much that it was a bad movie, but Toy Story was the greatest trilogy of all time, and it now looks like they'll just never stop making those movies. But I think anybody who lived through this might be bending the rules a bit, Korey, as it's a prequel. And I know it's been extensively covered by our favorite YouTuber, Lindsay Ellis, but The Hobbit was so disappointing when it came out. I think it's tough to even look back and remember how excited it was, and it was just a different time for movie news, because all I heard was that, Peter Jackson's making a Hobbit movie. And it's like, well, he just made the greatest trilogy of all time.
Star Wars. Oh.
Yeah. And
Was that a Star Trek?
And those movies just kept getting more and more critical acclaim and popular, and it's just oh my god, this Hobbit movie is going to be incredible. And then I don't know when they decided to split it into multiple movies, but it was such a bummer. I remember just walking away being confused, even after the first one, being that was not what I was hoping for.
It is kind of hard to believe, Happy, that it was as much of a letdown as it was, considering it's oh, well, they're all coming back. It's Peter Jackson, we got the Ian McKellen as Gandalf, even Orlando Bloom, who doesn't belong here at all, but he's here, right? Mm-hmm. We got Lady Orlando Bloom showing up for the first time.
Kate from Lost.
It's you think everything should fall into place with this, but yeah, it is very disappointing. And you're right, Lindsay Ellis covered this much more thoroughly than we can in the few minutes we're going to spend, but yes, definite letdown. Jonathan, what about you, man? You're a man that has seen a total of 4 movies. Which one of them has let you down?
Of those 4, I've actually seen a couple of sequels. So the first one, very undear to my heart, is My Girl 2. How the fuck can you have My Girl 2 without Thomas J? I mean, it should have been shit canned from the beginning.
He died.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you're saying they shouldn't have made it?
They should have never made it. Ever.
Well, they got the kid from Prehysteria to replace him, right?
Totally unacceptable replacement. I mean, the franchise just should have died after the first one. Bottom line. The other is, I really had high expectations for Dumb and Dumber 2. T-O-O 2.
No, it's T-O.
Oh, is it T-O?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's even worse.
I'm sorry. But here's the deal. It sucked. It was terrible. It was awful. The first one was such a great classic comedy movie of the 90s. But after time, I did sort of find a place to enjoy it, even though it was such a dog shit movie.
An angry place.
Yeah. And I have a little tiniest ounce of respect for that movie. as disappointing as it was, I'll still watch it.
So Dumb and Dumber 2, the thing with that one is I would be with you, Jonathan, because I think Dumb and Dumber is Jim Carrey's best 90s comedy, and I think it's a comedy of the 90s that still holds up, as we discussed on this podcast, you know?
Yep.
But with the sequel, I knew it was going to be bullshit. Like, that trailer didn't sell me, man. I was like, I can't see this movie. It's going to be an awful piece of shit. I mean, the trailer was all bad. Like, all the jokes in the trailer were horrible. So
Totally.
I fortunately was not victimized by Dumb and Dumber 2 in the same way that you were.
You guys want to play He Who Smelt It?
Huh? What's that?
It's complicated, so pay attention. We put the windows up. First one who smells a fart gets a point. If you say who dealt it, double points.
But if you say you smelled a fart and nobody farted, like if we were just passing a slaughterhouse,
False fart.
you lose a point. And you can't smell your own farts either.
What, are you guys kidding? No. No. I'm not going to sit around sniffing your guys' farts like some kind of truffle pig. Forget it.
Okay, fine. Lloyd and I will play one-on-one.
Yeah, head to head.
How can you play one-on-one? If you smell a fart and you didn't do it, isn't it obvious the other guy did?
I thought you said you never played before.
Yeah, sounds like he wrote the rule book.
I think we might have a hustler here.
I was victimized by other movies, however.
I'd love to hear about it.
I've talked about this one a lot, and I've told this story a lot. It's not really a story, but I've mentioned this before. Batman and Robin, 1997. Joel Schumacher, George Clooney, Arnold Schwarzenegger. We all know the story. We did a podcast on it, Jonathan, episode 95. I was so fucking excited for Batman and Robin, and I don't know why. It's not like Batman Forever was like the greatest Batman movie ever made. It wasn't even like the second best, you know? Like there was two others before it that were superior.
Sure.
The thing with Batman and Robin, though, is I was sold on the premise that it was going to be Batman and Robin as a team finally formed fighting crime together. That's what got me excited about that. It was like the concept, okay, Batman Forever, they're kind of like forming up, and at the end he becomes Robin. In the next movie, they're going to be the dynamic duo, baby. But the whole movie, they're fucking bitching at each other and fighting. The whole movie is about them separating. So I feel like we were kind of missold on the premise of Batman and Robin being together. That was very disappointing for me. I also have a couple others that I'm going to get to in a moment. First, I'm going to go over to you, Ronnie. What are some of yours before I go on a long tangent?
The first one that popped into my head when I thought of disappointing sequels was The Lost World of Jurassic Park. I really fucking hate this movie, and people like it a lot, and I just absolutely think it's dog shit, and I think it's bloated, and it's like the same movie again, and it undermines all like the horror and the good, like amazing filmmaking and the characters. Like, I at some point I'm gonna do a podcast on it because I know you guys have done it before on this one, but like how awful this fucking movie is. It's so miserable. Hated that movie.
Real quick, Ronnie, Lost World Jurassic Park, we did a podcast on it. Pappy, you were there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, gymnastics. The best.
Yep.
Exactly. That's, oh my God. Why you got to bring that up? But it's like all the magic was like squeezed out, and it was like the most corporate Spielberg movie I've ever seen. It's like a movie by committee, right? They just shit out this movie, it seems like. And it wasn't even like right away that it came out, but it just doesn't feel like it.
I've never seen it, obviously,
Oh.
but I've only seen 4 movies. But is that the one where Jeff Goldblum has his kids?
Yes.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it was like a cash grab in every respect of like Michael Crichton writing a shitty sequel really quickly to Spielberg doing it for the money, and like it felt like rushed and trash. So it's awful, and it's worthy of a deep dive. So you guys already talked about it, so I won't go any more into it. The Exorcist 2 is a fucking nightmare, and like not in a good way. Like we did a deep dive on the Exorcist movies. I'm a fan of them in like both a wonderful but also a terribly shitty kind of way. And number 2, I don't know what went wrong there. I think either too much drugs or not enough drugs that made that movie just like Inception, but even stupider. But I was trying to think of like a contemporary movie that like I left the movie theater feeling disappointed, because I have very low expectations for most sequels. But the only one I could think of, I went through a lot of lists and looked for movies, was The Last Jedi. Like, yeah, I know it's gonna be controversial maybe for you guys, but like, I enjoyed The Force Awakens just fine, and I remember my dear friend and co-podcaster Hobo Dan and I saw that movie, and we kind of just like walked out like, I don't know what was going on, and then for what's the last one called? Skywalker's Ranch. What's it called?
Yeah,
Skywalker Ranch.
Skywalker Island.
Skywalker's Island.
It's called The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah,
The Rise of the Skywalker.
No.
Yeah, Hobo Dan and I went to see that. We got absolutely shit-faced and just walked in and had a really good time watching that movie. But yeah, The Last Jedi to me was just like, I don't know, 6/10 of a movie, 3/5 of a movie that like was interesting, and then it said we're just gonna not do what we set out to do and undermine everything. So that was a disappointing movie that kind of just maybe give up on Star Wars altogether.
All right, time for Star Wars talk, boys.
I was
You
gonna
open the
say.
door. You're gonna
Here we
regret
go.
this.
Let's do it.
I'm gonna go get some coffee.
Can I say, like, I know you don't want to talk about The Last Jedi, Corey, but like the reason it's sad too is like that's when film discourse just fucking died. You know, I feel like everything fell apart. Like everybody liked The Force Awakens, and then everything became so like, I don't know. This side hates it. This side likes it. Like it's just it's a disappointing movie in that respect. I feel like it's just too divisive. It's sad. Star Wars should be fun.
It negatively impacted the world as we know it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's why we're here today, because of The Last Jedi.
Maybe so, Pappy. I'm going to say this about the Star Wars sequels. So episodes 7, 8, 9, they decline for me, right? So there's kind of like a downward trend with 7 being really good, 8, in my opinion, being good, and then 9 being acceptable, right? So for me, as the type of Star Wars fan that I am, I like them. I like almost every Star Wars movie, pretty much. Maybe except for like the holiday special. I like them for certain reasons. I think everything has something in them. Even the ones I really say are kind of bad have something going on in them. That being said, I think you're absolutely right about the first Star Wars sequel being like a great introductory movie. There's obviously some problems with those movies where, and I'm not the first person to say this, I'm not breaking any news when I say there wasn't a plan, right? So when they made it up as they went along, some things got lost along the way, clearly. It's kind of like the opposite problem that they had with the prequels, where like George was trying to like connect things like in the moment to the original trilogy. The thing that always comes to mind with the Star Wars prequels is Revenge of the Sith opens with a space battle where Anakin Skywalker is this amazing pilot. And I think it's because when he started making Revenge of the Sith, he was like, oh shit, Obi-Wan Kenobi told Luke in A New Hope that he was an amazing pilot, and we haven't like done anything with that. So let's have this space battle. You know, I think he was trying to like make it fit. As to where in the sequels, I think Rian Johnson wasn't trying to make anything fit that J.J. Abrams had set up. So there's some problems there, obviously. But real quick, I want to mention one other franchise that was a big letdown for me. And that's The Matrix.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That first Matrix movie was fucking dope. I think like the world agrees. At least everyone our age. I mean, we were like young when it came out, you know? Yeah. I think I was in 7th grade. And that movie fucking blew my mind. Like, it was like The Truman Show, where it affected me in real life. Where I was questioning existence because of that movie. But not only that, it's a great fucking action movie. There's so much care put into, like, the hand-to-hand action scenes in that movie. And, like, the special effects were groundbreaking. They did a lot with the cameras, things that had never been done. And then the sequels came out. I think they did it so that 2 and 3 came out the same year, a few years later. And immediate disappointment for those. Like, as soon as those movies, not as soon as they start, but like, you know, 20 minutes in, you're like, this is not good. This is fun. Did you guys see the Matrix sequels?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was so confusing. A lot happening.
I remember the Zion orgy. That's the only thing I recall from Reloaded.
The twins?
All you got is fat material? So yeah, The Matrix was another one for me. Big letdown. Also, Real quick, X-Men The Last Stand, which I talked about thoroughly on Total Movie Recalls podcast. That's the third X-Men movie. Huge letdown there. But I think we've talked about that topic enough. Let's go into this potentially disappointing sequel. Of course, I'm talking about Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, directed by Chris Columbus once again, starring Macaulay Culkin once again. This was 1992, 2 years after the first one. Pappy, how does this movie start off? It's Christmas season once again, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it harkens back to the first one. And I have a lot of nostalgia for the Home Alone movies. The first one was the number one movie in America when I was born, when I was just a little Pappy coming out. So I grew up with these, and this opening scene where the house is like bustling, and, obviously very reminiscent of the first one. It does give me, Korey, the nostalgia that you're always talking about on Big Dumb Movie and with your accounts. Like, this is how I remember Christmas growing up. The way, like, people look, the house itself now. I had no relatives as wealthy as the McAllisters. I think that's been covered pretty, thoroughly, how much their house must have cost. He's flying everyone to Paris and stuff. But very similar intro. We see Kevin, and he has his yak back, and he's got his... You'll float too, clown floaty that he gets.
Sir, that's actually a talk boy, not a yak bag.
Tell him,
Sorry.
Jonathan.
Yeah.
So yak
I
backs?
wanted the talk boy.
Exactly.
And I only got the yak back because it was far cheaper.
We have talk boy at home.
Yeah, yak backs are the ones that could record for 3 seconds.
Right.
They were much smaller than a talk boy. You couldn't add special effects, at least in the first phase of yak backs. There were later yak backs that had special effects. I know my 90s toys pretty well, guys, so I'm going to get into this. But a yak back was like something everyone had. It's kind of like Tiger Electronics handheld games, where you might have the Jurassic Park game or the Ninja Turtles game, but you couldn't afford a Game Boy, It was kind of the same thing with a yak back and talk boy relationship.
Honey, are you packed yet?
Yes. Yes.
Everything I put out for you?
Yes. Yes.
Pappy, do you think this is a sign for this movie, the product placement, they're trying to sell us something, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right away. And we see a lot more of it later on in the movie and some of Kevin's pranks. But I think the movie is also signaling this is going to be extremely similar to the last one, right? Because if you think about all those sequels that we mentioned, that lost their way, some of them lose their way because they might go in a drastically different direction than what the audience is expecting. But some of them lose their way because it becomes shadows of shadows of shadows on a cave of what was a good movie. You know what I mean? What was a classic? And it feels like that. This feels like the starting to degenerate clone copy of the first one in this opening sequence.
Up to this point, if you had seen the very first Home Alone movie, it was almost scene for scene, joke for joke, music for music,
beat for beat.
And we're at 3 minutes in on the movie so far.
This is one of those movies that falls into the trap of redoing the first one because the first one was so successful, right?
Yeah.
I think we've seen that a lot. The example that comes to my mind for some reason is The Hangover 2, right? It's the same movie, except they're somewhere else. They probably lifted everything right out of Home Alone, actually. Recreate the magic,
They didn't even need to make new music. They just used the same
John
music
Williams had
over
the
again.
easiest job he's ever had.
Yep.
And yet he still got an Oscar nomination for it somehow, submitting the same music. Not really.
I bet John Hughes just literally had up the same board on the left side of his wall and just had all the beat for beats of every 5-minute increments and scenes, and then just rewrote it on a different draft and just added 20 more minutes of of wacky hijinks with some new characters. But yeah, I guess it kind of depends for me. What do you want out of a sequel? Most comedy sequels to me are carbon copies, but the jokes are different. So you got to kind of just do you enjoy those jokes? Are they fresh enough? While more, I don't know, dramatic or movies that are planned out have to develop the characters more because. So I guess it really depends what you're looking for in a comedy sequel. Because for me, It's like you said, it's the same exact movie. But the one thing I noticed, though, because I rewatched Home Alone 1 and then 2, the only thing I'm going to say difference is it's very similar, but there's much better blocking in the first one, because like the camera's kind of going up and down the stairs and like it's following Kevin go in and out of all these rooms. This one's just kind of very flat and just people are just kind of running in and out, and there's like a lot of more cuts, so it's not as, to me, as magical in that kind of the first scene.
There's also something else, Korey, that I want to say. In a sequel, I probably should have brought up. Not that it disappointed me, because it was pretty clear it was going to be dog shit. But Jurassic World Dominion, if any of you have seen... oh
my God.
That movie, literally one of the worst movies ever made.
One of the worst major Hollywood productions of recent years, certainly.
Yeah. And like one of the things that pissed me off the most is that in that movie, it's like Dr. Alan Grant had forgotten everything that he learned in the first Jurassic Park, and he still like fucking hates kids, and like none of the stuff resonated with him.
I got to learn to like kids again.
Yeah. And this is like Kevin McAllister still fucking hates his family. Like clearly, like nothing from the first movie has resonated with him. It's been only a year in time, and they have all of the same problems.
A year is like 10 years in kid time, though.
True. That's true. Yeah.
At our dumb podcast, At Wasted Potential, we have like trivia questions. I have a trivia question for you guys if you guys want to try this out. How many kids do the McAllisters have?
I think Kevin has 5 siblings.
Because there's 7, right? They have 7 and 7 tickets. Isn't that what they say?
Oh, okay. Yep.
So it's 5 and 5, but can you even name all 5 of these kids? Because I didn't know these kids had names. I had to look it up.
Buzz and Kevin,
Woody, Jesse, Slinky Dog,
Stinky Pete,
the kid from Pete and Pete.
So in the first one, the girl that tells him that he's with what the French call les incompetents.
Yeah,
that's his sister, right?
I think so. Yeah.
It's got to be. For a stupid line like that.
A cousin wouldn't say such a thing.
Yeah. I don't think so. You know what? It's funny, though. Like, I've just never give a shit enough about whether he had other siblings or not. I mean, because none of them really had any prominent role or feature or anything except for Buzz. It's
not like they get lost in New York or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Buzz and Buzz's girlfriend. Woof.
So Catherine O'Hara and Kevin's dad, because I don't remember the actor's name, they have 5 kids, and then the Uncle Frank and aunt, forgot her name, have 5 kids, and then the main McAllisters are Kevin, Buzz, Jeff is the redhead, Megan is one of them, and Lenny is another one.
Gotcha.
Gotta be one redhead, right?
Yep, gotta have one.
My daughter actually was watching this with me, and she asked if that was Ron Weasley.
Well, it's funny because Chris Columbus directed a couple of the Harry Potter movies, and John Williams scored them. So these two guys have worked together a lot, starting back in the first Home Alone, I think. I think that was their first project together. But they've done like 4 or 5 movies together. One of the things about the Talk Boy early on is like, Kevin uses it the way we used it as kids, which is, well, we didn't have it, but the way we used Yak Backs, right? He says yes into it in front of his mom, and then he plays yes back to his mom.
Yeah.
But then he re-records yes to do it again. Like he does it back to back, he doesn't just play back the first yes. I like to have like a canned yes or a canned no ready to go. So someone would come up and ask me a question, and I would look at him, whip out the Yak Back, and then play it. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, he had a really, really unique skill of rewinding and fast forwarding that recording tape on the Talk Boy to the exact moment of where he knew the recording would be appropriate for the situation.
The Talk Boy has a wireless mechanism that interacts with your cerebral cortex, and it can rewind and fast forward to the spot you think of. It's very futuristic technology. But there are some setups early on in this movie, right? They're setting up the inflatable clown gift that he gets, which he's very ungrateful for. Like Pappy alluded to. Maybe not the best kid in the world.
Oh, did you see what Grandma Penelope sent you for the trip?
Let me guess. Donald Duck slippers?
Aha, close. An inflatable clown to play with in the pool.
How exciting.
Uncle Frank in the shower. That's a setup for later. I'm sure that's a scene Jonathan liked.
Yeah, I love seeing old men in the shower. Yeah, it's awesome.
60-year-old guy.
One of the other scenes that I think is kind of a good carryover from the previous movie, though, was like everybody was paranoid about Fuller drinking Coke before bed, because nobody wanted to sleep with him because he pisses the bed.
Yes.
And then that joke actually kind of carries out throughout the movie as well, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, Fuller, Roman Roy himself, is a walking Coca-Cola ad in both movies, I think, right?
Yeah.
And like an anti-bullying message. Please don't beat up this kid.
Christmas tree, my Christmas tree, lit up like a star. When I see my Christmas tree.
So, Ronnie, Kevin and his siblings, they have a Christmas pageant recital that night. Why don't you tell us kind of what happens there?
Okay, so in this world, I guess, they put all the grade levels all together for some kind of Christmas pageant. Maybe it's like a choir. I don't know. Buzz looks like he's 25. Kevin's supposed to be 10 years old. So I don't... And then there's another brother. I can't even remember his name. Somewhere on my notes, I already lost it. But like they're all just together in this choir then. And Kevin has a beautiful little solo coming up. And then Buzz takes these plastic battery-operated candles and puts it behind Kevin's ears to mock him, make him look like a little devil or something while he's trying to do his sing. And the crowd goes wild. They absolutely love it. It's like a Friday Night at the Apollo. Like they're all just laughing at how hilarious Buzz is for putting
Friday Night at the Apollo.
putting these bulbs behind his brother's ears.
Women be shopping. He's just murdering up there, just crushing.
He is. He's like the best prop comic in the entire world. Gallagher's got nothing on him.
Yeah, there's just Carrot Top in his early days.
You know what would have been amazing for that scene? If they would have done the drum solo from In the Air Tonight right there when he was practicing the drums on Kevin's head.
This audience is fucking on nitrous, dude. Why are they laughing so hard? The only people that are appalled are like Kevin's family, I think, and the piano player. And
no, dude, his whole family was laughing at him. Uncle Frank,
his parents looked embarrassed, but yeah, Uncle Frank thinks it's the funniest fucking thing he's ever seen in his entire life. Like he's just putting bulbs behind him and playing a drum solo on his head. So then Kevin's, accidentally, well, doesn't accidentally, he intentionally punches Buzz and then accidentally kills an old lady almost when his brother's being an asshole.
I think she does die.
She's the first victim of this whole movie. She's dead.
Yeah, Marv and Harry like get destroyed and beaten up, but the old lady, just something falls near her and she dies. Yeah, she's the only victim this entire film.
At least the first one, for sure, Kevin's on a warpath. And Pappy, after this, they have a trial, right?
Yeah. Buzz is like, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, all I did was tell the funniest jokes ever and save the pageant. And I was assaulted by this problem child down here. And it's a little ridiculous, right? That like everyone's like blaming Kevin.
He's Saul Goodman up there, Buzz. He makes the best case I've ever seen. It's to the point where like the family applauds afterwards. Like they're not like, you know what, you're still in trouble for this, but thank you for the apology. They're like, they applaud, all is forgiven. A woman died, but all is forgiven.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'd like to apologize to my family for whatever displeasure I might have caused you.
What?
My prank was immature and ill-timed.
Immature or not, it was pretty goddamn hilarious.
I'd also like to apologize to my brother. Kevin, I'm sorry.
Oh, Buzz. That was very nice.
And I think Buzz calls Kevin a trout sniffer, too. Like there's a lot of like little
He sure does.
insults that have stuck with me through this.
Is it just me or are the McAllisters a bunch of assholes?
Huge assholes. Thank you, Ronnie. I fucking hate them.
Because in the first movie, they're all just so like mean to Kevin, and I get Kevin's not the youngest, but like the youngest one in his family, so you just kind of just naturally shit on the youngest one, but like they're all just kind of mean and like aggressive to each other, and they're all just like accept this terrible bullying of the oldest to youngest brother, and I'm like, I don't care that their vacations keep getting ruined every year.
Hot take: Kevin was the fifth of 5 children, and they never really wanted him to begin with.
100%.
So they don't really give a shit about him.
They hate him. Is what
Yeah,
you're saying.
basically. The dad's so disconnected. He gave up after the 4th kid anyways. He's just like, fuck, dude, all you guys do is take my money.
Speaking of which, what does Kevin's dad do for a living?
Oh, the famous internet question.
Yeah.
I don't know, but that house is impressive, and he's funding this trip to Florida.
It's got to be like the most fucked up corporate thing ever. Like he's like a lawyer for like Big Tobacco or some shit.
He's
like
probably CEO of multiple big tobacco.
Yeah.
I kind of figured that like he's probably high up in like the Mormon church or something, because like a lot of kids, I don't ever see them drink alcohol, and like, you know, on the outside it looks all perfect and beautiful, on the inside they're a bunch of assholes. So that's what I was going with. Sorry for your Mormon fans.
Wow.
Huge in Utah. Big dumb movie.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Whoops, cut that out. Merry Christmas.
Beat that, you little trout sniffer.
I'm not sorry. I did what I did because Buzz humiliated me. And since he gets away with everything, I'll let him have it. And since you're all so stupid to believe his lies, I don't care if your idiotic Florida trip gets wrecked or not. Who wants to spend Christmas in a tropical climate anyway?
Kevin!
Kevin, you walk out of here. You sleep on the 3rd floor.
Yeah, with me. So what else is new?
You'd better not wreck my trip, you little sourpuss. Your dad's paying good money for it.
Oh, wouldn't want to spoil your fun, Mr. Cheapskate.
Well, Kevin, guys, doesn't apologize to his family. He's pissed. He's still hot from this whole incident. And he gets in trouble again, mirroring the first movie. He has to sleep on the 3rd floor again with Roman Roy, who will be joining him later. Who?
Okay, that's some bullshit. Up there in the attic in the 3rd floor, there isn't even any insulation in the attic, man. Like, it's just like wood planks.
What do you mean? There's tons of asbestos up there. It's
Christmas time. Yeah. Yeah, the asbestos will keep him warm from the inside.
He's got a space heater. It's fine. He's safe.
Jesus.
Now, this is where something happens that is kind of like the first movie, right? Where, like, he has the fight. It's a little bit contrived in this movie, I think, compared to the first one. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, the night passes, and, like, what's different about this movie compared to the first one, and I didn't rewatch the first one, but this is the way I remember it. It's almost like there's something mystical that happens in the night in the first Home Alone movie that kind of helps Kevin along with his wish of like being separated from his family. You watched it recently, right, Ronnie? There's something going on there that's like, it's like some implied like act of God.
Yeah, there's like this little like kind of like nice John Williams kind of jingly score. There's like a bad weather, and then like a tree takes out a power line, and then their power goes out. And yeah, it seems like, you know, Christmas magic, which is I guess kind of ironic because, you know, it ruins their vacation, but then, you know, thousands of dollars later, Kevin learns an important lesson that he forgets for this movie. But yeah, there's a little Christmas magic. There's a moment in this movie that I don't want to jump ahead to, but like there's like two moments, like one in the last movie and this movie, it seems like a little bit of Christmassy kind of magic is happening.
I always thought he was just like a master of manifestation or something.
The page master?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he becomes the page master much later, but yes.
The page manifester.
But yeah, but in this one, the dad accidentally unplugs the alarm clock because he's
trying to charge a camcorder.
Okay, so he's trying to charge something there and unplugs it. So yeah, like you said, more contrived, more kind of like just happenstance. Like, okay, it's not magical this time at least. But then when it happens, like I think you mentioned there, Pappy, that like no one learns their lesson. The van drivers still don't learn their lesson. They keep running into fucking statues.
Yeah,
That's true.
You see the
Yeah, that
same
was kind of
statue.
a dumb carryover joke.
There's a few dumb carryover jokes, but I agree. Yeah.
We did it again!
Did you like when the movie subverted your expectations, Ryan Johnson style, and Kevin was actually in the front of the van, and you thought that you would have been forgotten?
I thought it was cute.
Didn't see that coming.
7, 8, 9, 10.
How come none of us are sitting together?
At this time of year, we're lucky to get on the same plane. 11, 12, 13. Where's Kevin?
14. It's a good thing I have my own ticket, just in case you guys try to ditch me.
Yeah, so the family's running late, right, Jonathan? They're on their way to the airport. They got to travel. This time, they're going to Florida instead of France for the holidays, which Kevin is not a fan of. He's also now at odds with his family because of the recital incident.
He's such a bitch, dude. You're getting a trip to Florida. Grow up. I know he's 10, but dude, shut the fuck up, Kevin. Like, just go to Disney World.
Maybe he knows the state of the motel that they plan to stay in, because it's not. It's kind of a project motel, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, Uncle Frank said it was great when he stayed there at his anniversary, like 30 years ago, or his honeymoon, something like that.
It's like a mobile home park next to like a gator like pond. It looks like the highest quality of Florida. Dang, I've insulted 2 states.
It looks like one of those motels you go to that people have actually lived there for years. Like they just
the Florida Project, that movie. Yeah.
Pay by the week.
Yeah. They pay their rent by the week, by the month, and they just been there for years. We did miss one really important thing though. As everybody went to bed for the night, the wind blew a newspaper up to the front door that discloses that the wet bandits that were caught 2 years prior had escaped during a prison riot, and they were out on the loose.
That's right.
We'll save that note for later.
Remember that.
Yeah, it's front page news that the 2 like small time crooks escaped during a prison riot, and they're out loud at large.
Small time. They have a name for their organization. That's a criminal enterprise right there.
I apologize to all sticky bandits out there who are part of that deep running gang.
Dad, I need batteries.
What? I got some batteries in my bag. I'll give them to you on the plane. Here's 2 more. Same
Well, why
flight
can't
number
I
5.
get them now? I get them.
Not now, Kevin. What's the gate number?
817, sir.
Thank you. Hey, you better hurry up. It's the
Thank
last gate, all the way down.
Dad, what gate is it?
817, Buzz. Come on.
Kevin, you gonna take my bag? You gonna take my bag? Come on. Come on, 817.
Jonathan, it's travel time the next day. They make their way to the airport. There's a bit of chaos. What kind of happens here? This is a very important point in terms of like how this story moves forward, right?
Yeah, in more or less words, it's fucking go time, right? We're going to Florida. And they get to the airport. They're doing the awesome curbside check-in with the baggage handlers, getting all the bags loaded. And of course, like any 10-year-old in 92, I need batteries right now. I mean, I remember being in that position. I got a Game Boy, a CD player, whatever the fuck it was. One of those little handheld Tiger games that we spoke about earlier. Whatever it was, if we needed batteries, we needed them, and we needed them right now. I don't give a fuck what else is going on, right? Like, no, we're an hour and a half late for this flight. Then they're going to close the doors. And of course, we're in, gate number 817, the furthest gate possible. Of course, right? But no, I need batteries right now. And this is Kevin's MO. Needs batteries. Dad says, get them out of the bag. They all take off. Kevin's trying to fumble between getting batteries replaced and put into the talk boy, follow his family. Of course, his asshole family members leave this 10-year-old behind. I'm sorry, but as a parent, my 10-year-old should be in front of me, right? At all times. Mm-hmm. But it really just goes to show they fucking hate Kevin. So he stops to put batteries in his talk boy. Cue typical movie scene where he gets lost. He looks up. Kid sees a guy wearing a jacket just like his dad was. It was a brown overcoat. Follows him.
Profiles his dad.
And then we have more chaos.
Wait! I'm sorry.
That's all right. Are you on this flight?
Yeah, so is my family. They're already on the plane, and I don't want to be left behind.
Do you have a boarding pass?
It's somewhere.
We have to close up here. They're ready to go.
He dropped his boarding pass.
This plane can't leave. This happened to me last year and almost wrecked my Christmas.
Are you sure your family's on this flight?
Yeah, my dad ran in here right before I bumped into this lady.
Okay, board him. But make sure he locates his family before you leave him.
Okay, come on.
This is definitely a pre-9/11 movie, you know.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we'll see about that in about 5 minutes.
On so many sad levels.
Yeah, Kevin gets separated. He crashes into a gate attendant, whatever you call him at the airport, and he says, "Yeah, this is my plane. My dad's in there." They let him in, right? So he gets separated. He's on a totally different plane than his family. The talk boy here was both the cause of his problems and later the resolution too, in some ways. But yes.
He boards this American Airlines flight and they just say, find an open seat. Like, I don't think that's how it's ever worked, right? Like, what?
Yeah, dude. No, that was kind of fucked up. Well, because supposedly his dad was sitting up there in first class and they're like, yeah, go take your 10-year-old ass back to any open seat and coach, you know?
Get in coach, bitch.
Yeah, don't go check in with your dad. Just go find a random seat.
And beyond just like, I don't know, the mysticism or like the Kevin manifesting too. Ronnie, like you just saw the first one. It feels like there was like care put up into that setup, right? Like one, the family drama is better set up. And two, like there's plausible rationale with like the phone lines don't work. So like Kevin can't call out. Like none of this shit makes any sense. Like none of the events of this movie should happen for any reason. Like they just need an excuse to separate them. And it's so haphazardly done. Like all at any point Kevin just has to go to an adult and be like, help.
Yeah. John Hughes cocaine script for sure, right? It's just like put it together. I mean, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier. If I did, I apologize. But the first movie, the amount of money it made was insane. It made $289 million off an $18 million budget. Now this movie was no slouch. It made a lot of money as well, but not quite to the extent. But I want to say as a quick note before we go back into the plot that Macaulay Culkin got paid $100,000 for the first movie. He got paid $4.5 million for this movie. Ooh. So this kid was rolling the fucking dough. A lot of money.
He could buy all the talk boys he wants.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
And all the cheese pizzas he wanted.
Talk boys from here to the sky. Kazam style.
To the top of the Twin Towers.
Sad.
We're going to piss off New York now, too. Or maybe all of America.
We're coming for all the states, bitches. Merry Christmas.
Yeah. I did hold back on this joke. We were talking about Kevin McAllister manifesting things. It was September 10th, 2001. He says, I wish my family was dead right before their fall vacation.
Oh, shit.
I made my family disappear.
Started an entire war in the Middle East.
But I didn't say that joke, so.
Well, you did now.
No, he didn't. He said he was going to, and he never actually did it.
Ah, got it.
It could have gotten really dark, and then, never mind, it would make sense. I was going to say a Buzz gets drafted into the army, but he's already dead. It's okay.
I have that feeling.
We forgot something?
No, I don't think we did, but I just have that feeling.
Bad memories, that's all. We did everything. We brought everything. We have everybody. There's nothing to worry about.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. We're fine.
Nothing to worry about.
Kevin's mom on her plane, she like has a disturbance in the force, you know? She realizes that something is wrong. But she doesn't think to say, let me go see if Kevin is on this fucking plane. I don't know why that's not the first thing they think to do at every turn, right? Where is Kevin, the one we lost last time?
I don't understand why they aren't just all sitting together. You know, like if you had a good travel agent
Throwaway
like
line.
you did back in the 90s.
Throwaway line. They said, we were lucky to all get on the same plane.
Yeah, because the McAllisters don't plan ahead, apparently.
Well, it's just open seating anyway. You just find an open seat on these planes. Like, it doesn't even... I don't know.
The McAllisters go on something nice, and then Kevin stumbles onto a shitty
Southwest.
airline like American.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know.
Spirit? Yeah.
Spirit seems like the airline that wouldn't check for boarding passes.
Just get on. We'll figure it out. We'll put you in an overhead compartment.
We take cash as you're just boarding. Just give me money.
You're 10 years old? Oh, you don't need a seat.
Yeah.
Just go to the overhead storage.
I'll just strap into the wing of the plane. We're fine. There is a child on the plane.
Nice Shatner. Not bad. Shane would be proud.
He would be. That's also like a Gremlin reference, which is Chris Columbus wrote that. So there you go. Didn't mean to, but I'll take it.
So, have you ever been to Florida?
Où c'est petit, ça? Moi, je viens de la France. Je suis un touriste ici. C'est la première fois que je viens en Amérique. Tu peux pas me dire, toi, un peu, s'il y a un bon restaurant? Seulement, peut-être tes parents, ils connaissent une bonne place. Pourquoi tu me réponds pas? Tu parles français un petit peu? Moi, je parle pas l'anglais du tout. Mais donne-moi un coup de main, quand même. Tu veux pas me parler, hein? Tu veux pas? Tu me fais la gueule? Moi, je m'appelle André. Dis-moi.
Welcome aboard American Airlines Flight 176, non-stop to New York. Our flight time is...
So Kevin lands in New York. He is completely separated from his family who has landed their plane in Florida. Jonathan, Kevin finds out that he's Home Alone 2 Lost in New York.
That he does. Yeah, he does.
Actually, real quick, Jonathan, what'd you think of that French motherfucker on the plane next to him?
I'm so glad that Kevin had his own recordings of his Uncle Frank in the shower to listen to instead of the French guy.
You think he
It sounds way better.
You little pervert.
That guy's trying to talk to Kevin, and Kevin just puts on headphones and just tunes him out.
The guy's speaking French.
Dude,
I do the same shit.
Yeah, that was really...
I'd look him dead in the eyes and put my headphones on.
Yeah, that was just really weird, though. Like, why
That's
is this
psychotic.
grown adult trying to speak French to a 10-year-old kid who's obviously there all alone? Yeah.
I looked up the
man.
translation, and he's like, I'm a tourist from France. My name's so-and-so. What's your name? Why aren't you responding to me? Do you know any good places to eat? And it's like, what the fuck? Like, why aren't you responding? Bitch, this isn't O'Hare. This is Chicago. Like, what the fuck do you think this kid just speaks French?
This kid barely knows how to wipe his ass, and you're asking him in French where to go eat? Come on. Oh, man.
But yeah, but at least, like, even though this movie is like 22 years old, Kevin does what any of us would do, is we put some, headphones in or get a book out, because I don't want to make casual conversation with any random motherfucker on a plane. Like, not at all. Like, just not what I want to do in the slightest.
I think people nowadays know a little bit better. People don't talk to me when I'm on a plane, like, at all. But I might be off-putting for some reason. Like, Jonathan, do you bump into that? Do people talk to you?
No. I avoid people on the plane at all costs. I mean, my headphones are in noise cancellation mode before I even go down the tunnel. Like, I don't want to talk to people on the plane. Don't bother me. Don't ask me questions. All I want to know is if you're sitting next to me or not. That's it.
I'm a tall person, so people talk to me. I don't know what it is. It's something weird. Like, I'm not interesting in the slightest to talk to, but
true.
Like, because I'm tall, people like
No,
want
I'm
to
just
make
kidding.
weird conversation. Thank you. Want to make weird conversation with me.
How's the weather up there?
Yep. Or my favorite is like, can you get that for me? I'm like, I'm not your your fucking bag boy.
I am not your bitch.
I really don't mind helping out seniors or something like that on the plane, especially if it benefits me being able to get off the plane faster. I'll gladly get your fucking bag down for you instead of watch you take it down. And there's that little bit of plane etiquette,
For sure.
The people in front of you get to get off first.
Yep.
Then you get to go. help it.
And when someone behind you starts going ahead of you, you'll give them that look like,
Oh,
bitch,
no,
are you
dude.
serious?
I don't give them the look, dude. I go fucking stand in the aisle. Somebody behind me wants to move and like go ahead and they want to cut. I'm like, nah, cutter, peanut butter. Dude, I'll move right in the fucking aisle.
They should go on like the no-fly list. Those fuckers. Like, hate people who do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love those like slight passive-aggressive actions on the plane.
Mm-hmm. Put your bag in the middle of the aisle. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going next. Thanks.
Yeah, like just put your foot out in the aisle. So like they, it's just enough to be like, wait, do I have enough room to walk past or not? No, you don't.
Oh no, my family's in Florida and I'm in New York. My family's in Florida. I'm in New York.
Well, like I said, Kevin was at odds with his family, so he's actually happy about this separation, and he takes full advantage of it. He gets up to some New York shenanigans. He goes sightseeing. He rides in a taxi cab. He goes sightseeing again. He goes to Chinatown, and he also does some pre-9/11 sightseeing. So that's kind of the little montage we get here. It's really just like checking out the places in New York.
It was unreal that this kid in like 45 minutes went from the Bronx to Chinatown, Statue of Liberty, the top of the Twin Towers, Times Square, and then back to Central Park, like literally in 45 minutes. I mean, that's 3 days of sightseeing in New York.
Well, he does have like an envelope full of cash, so he's like gonna Richie Rich it and just like get a helicopter everywhere, I guess.
I love how his first idea was to go to Chinatown and get illegal fireworks.
Yeah. Priorities, set up, payoff.
Back when you could take fireworks into the World Trade Center.
Why can't you do that nowadays?
Kind of a letdown of a payoff, though, Ronnie, I think.
Yeah, and the first one he uses the fireworks that he steals from Buzz's room to scare off the wet bandits, and this one he uses it to, I guess, notify the cops of a pigeon attack.
It's almost like they forgot he had fireworks this whole time, so like, oh yeah, we got to put those to use real quick. But I guess more on that later.
I'm not saying it's a big deal, but it does bother me a little bit because this movie's all about wish fulfillment, right? Both movies are all about like childhood wish fulfillment.
All 90s kids movies.
Yeah. And it's like this Kevin McAllister living it up in New York like works if he's like some like working class kid, right? Or if he's like the Angels in the Outfield kid. Like motherfucker is just rich. Like he just stole his dad's credit card and is just paying for all of this shit normally. You know what I mean? Like he could do this at any time. It's just like so much less charming. You know what I mean?
I see. You're saying because he's already a rich kid that like the fact that he gets to do all this isn't like quite as satisfying.
Wait till the end of the movie.
It's like he said, he's committing credit fraud. Like he just stole his dad's credit card and bought all this shit.
And he's not ignorant. He knows what credit card fraud is.
Yeah.
He does. And I just realized something. Kevin's dad is even a bigger asshole than we even imagined. Like, back in the day in the 90s, travelers went with traveler's checks so that your cash was insured. This guy just had like 10 grand in cash sitting in his backpack.
Drug dealer.
Dude, it's always been policy, right? Like, cash, once you lose it, it's gone. You can't replace that. But if you have insured bank checks, traveler's checks, and you lose it and they're never cashed, you can get your money back. I guarantee you Kevin's dad knew that, so he either had a shitload of fuck it money or he's just an even bigger asshole than we thought.
I'm telling you, this guy was covering up like dumping nuclear waste in the Chicago River. He's bad. He's up to no good.
He's committed crimes against humanity for sure.
Yeah.
He's in charge of all the public housing in Chicago.
Yeah.
Has Boy ever run away from home?
No.
Has he ever been in a situation where he's been on his own?
As a matter of fact, this has happened before. It's becoming sort of a McAllister family travel tradition.
Funnily enough, we never lose our luggage.
He was left at home by accident last year.
We'll call Chicago and notify him of the situation. The odds are that's where he is. Thanks. It's very unlikely he'd be anywhere else.
Pappy, speaking of the parents, right? Catherine O'Hara as, well, I think her name's Catherine in the movie as well. Kate, they call her. And then John Hurd as Peter McAllister. They realize that Kevin is not with them.
They kind of have like a little bit of a mental breakdown, and they go to the Miami police department, and they start to like create an incident, but they end up like giggling about how they've never actually lost their luggage. And they're, Catherine O'Hara was just such a fucking amazing, was an amazing actress too, like in this run. Like the look in her eyes when they're like knocking on wood and like they look like they're about to cry, but they're like just crazed. Like she's the best, man.
She's a treasure, dude.
Yeah.
Catherine O'Hara is amazing. And I didn't appreciate her as much when I was a kid, It kind of takes some years to kind of look back and see her, but just her body of work, she's always so good. She's on like Curb Your Enthusiasm in like one episode, and it's like one of her best performances, I think. She was one of the few good things about Beetlejuice 2, in my opinion. She's great. Jonathan, you a fan?
Oh, totally. I mean, her ability to emotionally project into each role is just outstanding. I mean, I really enjoyed her on Schitt's Creek as well.
I like manic Catherine O'Hara too, and you can see shades of that here and the first movie, and as well as like Beetlejuice, the first one.
She plays a nut job really well.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's happening? Guess who told Marty to shut up?
When did this
I
end?
give up.
Who?
He didn't tell you?
No.
Oh, come on. She's great. Great actress.
Angelina Jolie?
No. You know who I mean. She's an actress. And she said, shut up right to Marty.
Nicole Kidman?
No.
Julia Roberts?
No. She's multi-talented.
Oh, I know. Hannah Montana.
No. You're not even trying.
The Kardashians.
What? No. You know who it is.
Do you have any idea?
No.
Yeah, you do.
I like the scene where you're talking about where like they go to like the police or like I'm not sure if it's actually a police station or if it's just like the security at the Miami, but like they don't fucking call CPS on this family for the McAllister family travel tradition of abandoning their child 2 years in a row.
Sorry, rich people do not get CPS called on them. It doesn't happen.
We just need like a Daniel point view. I've abandoned my child. Screaming.
Meanwhile, we see that the criminals from the first movie have broken out of what I assume is Rikers Island, and they've rebranded. The Wet Bandits, formerly known as the Wet Bandits, are now the Sticky Bandits. We get to see kind of a little bit of this with Marv, right? His little like gimmicky, like kind of snatching things with his sticky hand. Jonathan, are you a fan of the Wet Bandits, or the Sticky Bandits as they're now called? What do you think of these two, just kind of like in general?
The Bandits, formerly known as Wet.
The Dry Bandits.
Yeah. I mean, the movie has to have them, or else it just doesn't work. I don't think they could have come up with probably a better nemesis for this movie. And it's always nice to see them sort of try to get their vengeance once they realize, oh shit, of all places in the entire world, we're here at a farmer's market in New York, and we just crossed paths with Kevin.
With the devil.
Little fucking McAllister.
Yeah, unbeknownst to them at first. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think you need them to make it work. They're back to their same old shenanigans. This time, they're fucking with the money that's being donated to cancer kids.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that in a bit for sure. I just want to say that Marv, Daniel Stern, his like goofiness is something that like attracted me a lot as a kid.
Yeah.
In the mindset of being a kid in the 90s when I saw this movie, I just thought he was so funny. All right, now I appreciate Joe Pesci a little bit more than I did as a kid as well, especially when he's trying really hard not to curse.
I feel like those two guys were really a good inspiration for Pinky and the Brain. I could see a correlation between the two.
It's a classic 90s trope.
Yeah.
Well, to me, like Joe Pesci's doing a phenomenal, like Yosemite Sam, like muttering underneath his breath and not swearing.
Frackin' varmint.
Yeah. And then Daniel Stern tries really hard to be Marv after he suffered all the brain damage in like the last movie. Like he's just like even like a little derpier than before.
Yeah, he's barely functional for sure.
Plaza Hotel, New York's most exciting hotel experience. Sick.
During this time, Kevin, still cruising around New York, he has his first encounter with a homeless person, probably ever. And I think he reacts the way that most white people do, where he says, like, sick, and then he runs away.
Oh, the bird lady?
Yeah.
There's no homeless people in the rich Chicago suburbs.
Yeah, the bird lady. We get our first glimpse of her, Ronnie.
I always think of, in Hey Arnold, the Pigeon Man. Do you guys ever see that? I always think of Pigeon Man when I see this, except for I felt way more sympathetic for Pigeon Man than I do for Bird Lady.
Doesn't Pigeon Man like fly away or something?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really cheesy, but yeah. It's sad, I guess.
Harold destroys his pigeon cages and he flies away.
I always laugh like he flies into the sun, but it's not like it's like the reverse Icarus because you think like those pigeons couldn't carry him. He's just like a nosedive into the suburbs or like the urban area of wherever Hey Arnold lives.
What's weird about the Pigeon Lady character is it's just the South Bend slasher from the first movie. You know what I mean? It's filling that same void of like, hey, the freaks in your neighborhood, in your community have hard lives. Don't be mean to them, right? Like that's just like what they're trying to get across. But it's the same plot point, almost exactly.
I'm sorry, dude, but that lady deserved to be called sick, man. She probably smelled like shit, dude. Covered in pigeon shit.
She should be covered in way more bird shit. But yeah, no, that's why I said I called this a carbon copy of the original one because it's beat for beat, except for there's I think one more edition of more villains, but like this is like literally the same exact movie.
Yeah, a lot of similarities, but here's one difference. Of course, Kevin's not at home, right? So he's in New York, and he decides to go check into the Plaza Hotel, which is a place he saw a commercial for earlier. On his way there, he sees Donald Trump.
Excuse me, where's the lobby?
Maybe that's a question you should ask China. Don't ask me, ask China that question, okay? When you ask them that question, you may get a very unusual answer.
Now, Pappy, I have two questions for you with Kevin's check-in. Mm-hmm. Who do you think's been convicted of more felonies? The Sticky Bandits or Donald Trump?
Probably Donald Trump, but I think out of all of them, Kevin's committed the most war crimes by far. Like he should be tried in The Hague out of any of these people.
He's broke the Geneva Convention. Yeah. For sure. A lot of crime. But the other question, could you just tell us about like his process, Pappy, for checking into the hotel? He's got kind of some tricks up his sleeve.
Yeah, he has the recording, so he knows the phone number of the hotel. And he makes his own little recording saying, this is Peter McAllister, the father. I'd like a room, please. I think he wants like a TV and a refrigerator with a little key on it or something like that. But what he does is he slows down the yak back or the talk boy or whatever the fuck it's called in order to sound deeper and is able to trick the lady on the other end of the line. And it's as stupid as it is, it works without a hitch. The Plaza is not the smartest group of employees. I think we see that over and over again in this movie.
New York's finest,
New York's finest idiots. Yeah, exactly.
Plaza Hotel Reservations, may I help you?
Howdy do. This is Peter McAllister, the father.
Yes, sir.
I'd like a hotel room, please.
Yes.
With an extra large bed, a TV, and one of those little refrigerators you have to open with a key.
Yes, sir. You'll need a major credit card upon check-in.
Credit card? You got it.
Thank you. Enjoy your stay.
I like how resourceful Kevin is in this movie and in the original one. I enjoy the character of Kevin. He's resourceful, but it also really helps that all the adults that he crosses paths with are absolute imbeciles and just don't question anything.
Mm-hmm. I know, because when he does the reservation thing, first of all, the way he records it is insane. Like, who introduces themselves as their name followed by the father?
The father.
This is Korey Marshall, the father. Like, the father of what? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he sounds fucking drunk. He just makes himself sound like a wasted... He sounds like you, Ronnie. He's a drunk man.
Well, he's I guess slowing down the recording makes him sound, uppity and putting on airs. I'm the father kind of thing. So I guess it works in that regard.
There's also the movie doesn't know how to get around reading the credit card number, because there's not the equivalent of the 555 phone number. So on the phone, she's like, "You'll need credit card," and the recording goes, "Yes, I have credit card." And she's like, "Great, that's all you need."
How can you get the line wrong? Yeah. Credit card? You got it.
You got it, yeah.
You're right, he sounds like me.
That's what it is.
So this is where we get our first glimpse of Tim Curry.
God, I love him.
A true acting legend. Jonathan, we got Tim Curry as the concierge at the front. He sees Kevin go to do his check-in, and he is locked in on this guy, right? He is razor focused on this kid, and he ain't happy about it.
Yeah, I do have one comment first, though. I don't know why Tim Curry even took this role. This was such a film that was so beneath him. I mean, as great as an actor as he is, and some of the legendary stuff that he's done, why the fuck is he spending time being an unnamed character in Home Alone 2?
Dude, you got to get that Peter McAllister money one way or another. There's only one way to get that kind of money.
It's doing movies like this.
He doesn't even have a name in IMDb on this movie. He's just concierge.
Yeah.
That's so wild.
He's the only new thing, the new added subplot in this film, and I think it's, to me, the most memorable thing about this. But maybe because it's just Tim Curry, that creepy Pennywise smile, and just that how he's villainous, but he's also he eats a lot of shit. Whenever Kevin catches him and gets him off guard. So to me, it's the most memorable part. But yeah, it's definitely beneath him.
There's this thing about Tim Curry where his eyes are telling me that he's always thinking about sex. I don't know how to explain it, but the way he has this shimmer in his eyes. I love him. He's one of my favorite actors ever.
Well, yeah, he's a pervert looking at Uncle Frank while he's in the shower.
True, yeah.
But before I'm not sure if we're going to jump ahead of this, but I have to say something on a tangent, and you can stop me or cut this out, but Rob Schneider is the worst human being.
Cedric.
He's just goddamn awful, and I hate Rob Schneider. I just don't think he's funny.
The carrot himself?
The carrot himself. And there's two, outside of his, not good performances, he's an anti-vaxxer, and it takes it personally. And then two, for me, he blames wokeness because he can't do his relatively racist ethnic characters anymore, so he can't be in anything anymore. So he blames everything else.
He was so funny.
Yes. Yeah, I fucking hate Rob Schneider. He's the worst SNL cast member, and he's so awful. So that's my personal tangent about how much I hate the animal himself.
That's probably why Kevin hits him with the fruit stripe gum. He doesn't give him Winter Fresh or any kind of suit. Do you guys remember fruit stripe gum? It's famous for
the zebra, right?
It lasts about 3 seconds.
Yeah.
So that's the tip he gets from Kevin.
Yeah. I do have to say one thing about Rob Schneider, though. Outside of his film career,
and the media,
from what I understand, he's pretty shitty to his daughter and not a good person.
Yeah.
But I met him when I was 14 years old on a flight, and I sat with him and his mom on a flight from Sacramento to Burbank.
Were you speaking French to him? You hit him with the French?
No, I hit him with the fruit stripe. No, but and he took a picture with me and stuff, and he and his mom were so freaking cool on that flight, and they could have totally been, very closed off and not wanting to communicate or talk and have a good time. But I appreciated that moment, especially as a kid. And that was 22, 23 years ago, back when he could do all of his comedy. So I'm going to hold on to that moment, even though you hate the shit out of him. That's fine. But that was a cool moment for me.
Enjoy that moment. It's good. And maybe if I met him, I wouldn't be such an asshole about him. But I just like non-personally just can't stand him as a human being and as a comedian.
And what we mean by that is, Rob Schneider, if you come on Big Dumb Movie, you're going to be a king around here. We'll never talk bad about you again, buddy.
I won't be invited back to this podcast after this.
That said, he is a dog shit actor.
Yeah, he's bad,
He's
dude.
absolutely awful.
He's real bad.
But the time that I met him, it was cool.
One of the things that happens in this moment is like it's kind of intercutting between Kevin and his family, right? And like the family's like, oh shit, he has our money and our credit card. And they're like, what if he uses the card? And the dad's like, oh, Kevin doesn't know how to use a credit card. And then like it cuts to him doing it, right? But like, I don't know, it's just a weird thing because all he did was like hand it to the front desk person. Like, he doesn't know how to use it. He just like, he's like, here it is. Like he literally just hands it to her. I don't know, kind of a dumb moment. But Kevin is now set up, right? He gets like a very luxurious room. It's kind of mirroring the first movie, obviously, where he has the whole house to himself. He is staying in like the nicest room in the nicest hotel. And we get to see him spend his time there a little bit. One of the things he does is he watches Angels with Even Filthier Souls. So I guess the in-movie movie also got a cash grab sequel.
Dude, that movie is insanely violent. Like, I was thinking about this. It's just like domestic violence of this man mowing down a woman with a Tommy gun. Like, and yeah, it's in black and white, so it's like kind of semi-removed from the actual story, but that shit's nuts. This is a kid's Christmas movie, dude.
You do know what happens later, right, with the bricks?
I mean, listen, yeah, but the bricks don't kill people. Tommy.
I would have liked to sit down and have some dinner and drinks with that guy. As long as he leaves the Tommy gun at home.
The Angels with Filthier Souls guy?
Yeah, dude. He's probably got some fucking stories, man.
The non-James Cagney guy, yeah, he looks. It's very reminiscent of like those old, like the Scarface, the old like noir kind of ones. But yeah, I don't know. Like I always think of the Angels, the Filthy Souls scenes in the original one. So like I love these kind of moments. But you're right though, Pappy. It's like beyond gratuitously violent. Like just like endless like barrage of bullets.
She's on her knees begging for his life, and he did say like, if you want to live, like, get on your knees. I was like, wait, what kind of movie is this? Wait a second.
Get on your knees, bitch.
Yeah.
And tell me you love me.
You're kissing everybody.
Well, she was smooching with everybody, you know?
Everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Even Cliff.
Even Cliff.
It's not true. Later that night, Pappy, Kevin receives a visit from Tim Curry, who is very suspicious of this kid like being alone. So he goes into the hotel room, but Kevin is quick on his feet, isn't he?
Dude, insanely way too quick to pull this off. I do love there is something poetic about Tim Curry interacting with a clown, albeit a blow-up clown. But yeah, same kind of prank from the first movie where Kevin is able to construct a marionette fully controllable within minutes while syncing it to the recording of his uncle singing Cool Whip, which also perfectly times to an appropriate comment to get Tim Curry out of there. It's ridiculous for sure.
I'm the heaviest cat you ever did see. When they see me walking down the street, none of the fellas want to speak. I'm hey, all the misses, they wear a silver skirt, cause they know I'm the king of the cool jack. Get out of here, you nosy little pervert, or I'm gonna slap you silly. Oh, you're cooking, Frankie.
Okay, all right. Here's the other thing. We, as children or grown adults, could clearly identify the difference in volume and tone and the way that sound carries across a room from Uncle Frank's voice and the tiniest little speaker that's on the fucking Talkboy.
Right.
Or a TV from the early 90s for that matter. I mean, now there's some pretty good audio systems out there people could have that could probably replicate a voice pretty well. But back then, fuck no.
Very good point, man. Also, are we led to believe the Bozo the Clown inflatable was blown up already? Or did he just blow it up real quick, you know?
Well, Kevin was alone and felt sad, so he was probably like holding on to it at night because he was alone in the New York.
So you're saying he was blowing clowns in his hotel room?
And Tim Curry sensed it.
He smelt the fear and the clown and just snuck in.
That's it. Let go. Be afraid.
You'll blow too, Kevin. It's just, but that's the thing though, is like Kevin's not lonely at any point. Like maybe there's like one little shot I think of him like looking at a picture, but for the most part, he's just content to commit credit fraud, live in this hotel. Like he has no plan.
He stares out the window at one point, and his mom is like superimposed too. So they're like, John Hughes knows enough to like, you got to sprinkle in like the schmaltz to like bring this back to pretend like this is actually a family friendly Christmas movie, not a murderous rampage.
Yeah, he does put that in like right there.
But at any point, he could just talk to an adult and get out of the situation. Like, what is his end game? To live in New York forever?
To make $4.5 million.
That's the end game, baby. For all of us. I actually do like that moment, Ronnie, though, where Kevin says goodnight to his mom. I know it's not really, like, warranted. There's nothing that really calls for it because we don't, like... He doesn't seem to regret anything from earlier, at least at this point. And he's pretty happy with committing credit card fraud and just kind of, you know, buying everything he wants and living the dream. But there is something about that moment that does get me, where, like, the movie slows down and he says goodnight to his mom and she says goodnight from afar. And it's probably honestly attributed to the John Williams music. It's like that choir song that's in the score. And, you know, John Williams music goes a long way.
I think I talked about this previously with you, but like there's a really great like I can't remember the channel, but on YouTube, but like they like take the music out of famous film clips, and the really good ones like E.T. Like the John Williams score is taken from the ending scene in E.T. where he's walking up the ramp, and it's really funny, but it just shows like the magic of like music and how important it has on like, you know, the feels and the emotional like intensity of a scene.
Absolutely true.
And then before we go on, because you mentioned it, I was watching Home Alone 1. I was like, I had it on like in the background when I was making something, and then like my wife just starts like singing that song. So now for like the entire month of December now, we're just like, all I hear is my wife singing that little choiry song for like the John Williams score, that classic song, and it won't leave my house.
I want to say for families out there that have to endure Christmas music, you know, maybe you're at a Christmas party and someone's like, I'm going to play Christmas music, so that's kind of playing in the background here for the family. Fuck Christmas music. Fuck Mariah Carey. Put on the score from Home Alone.
Yeah,
that will get your family in the Christmas spirit.
Additionally, fuck Paul McCartney's song as well.
That's the worst Christmas song ever.
Simply
It's a Wonderful Christmas Time.
It's the worst.
It's not the best.
No, it's
really
the worst.
Ding
dong, ding
it's so
dong.
bad.
I would listen to Mariah Carey before I listen to Paul
Ooh,
McCartney.
no,
again.
come on.
I'm team Jonathan on this one. That Paul McCartney song is so awful.
My God, you guys are a bunch of Grinches. I'm pro Christmas music. Put it all on. I love it.
Come on, dude. Jingle Bell Rock?
It's a great song. But like, you know, like some department stores start playing it like early November. Like to me, like 2 months of it's too much, but December 1st, you put it on, I think it's okay.
The thing with John Williams is he really never lets you down. You know, it could be the biggest dog shit movie of all time.
Don't you say it.
But there's not wasn't gonna. like Hook, but like he never lets you down.
Bastard. So the next morning, Kevin sees Tim Curry, who is very apologetic about the incident of probably unlawfully entering his room and spying on Bozo the Clown. So compliments of the hotel, he has offered a limousine service and a cheese pizza, which I love the way he fucking says that shit.
Yeah, dude.
It's actually not just the way he says cheese pizza that I love. It's the way he says, have a lovely day.
Yeah.
And how are we this morning?
Fine. Is my transportation here?
Out in front, sir. A limousine and a pizza. Compliments of the Plaza Hotel. I do hope your father understands that last night I was simply checking the room to make sure everything was in order.
Oh, he was pretty mad.
He was.
He said he's gonna come all the way to New York to get his naked rear end spied on.
Of course not. Will he be down soon?
He already left.
Oh, I would have liked to have offered my personal apology.
If some guy looked at you in the shower, would you ever want to see him again?
I suppose not.
I don't think you'll see him for the rest of our trip.
I understand.
Bye.
Have a lovely day.
Because Tim Curry is, even if his like role is like underwritten or whatever it is, Tim Curry is a professional. And so like the movie Clue, and rewatching it as an adult, it's like not the funniest thing, but the only thing that stands up is just like how memorable Tim Curry's performance is in that movie. He's a class act.
He's a fucking legend. You know, I love him. He's one of those actors that like I just kind of like worship at the altar of, like even small stuff that he does, like Ferngully, The Last Rainforest. His voiceover role in that is great. His song in that is great.
Even Scary Movie 2, which is like dog shit, but like he's in it, and he's just his like goofy smile and his creepy eyes just makes it.
And he's so horny in that movie.
Yeah,
so horny.
I think Pappy's right. He's always
Dude,
horny.
Legend? That is the horniest devil I've ever seen.
So, if one of our little chickadees were to be taking a shower, which button would I press to get a close-up?
That one.
This one.
That one.
There's a kind of a visual moment that I really appreciate about this when Kevin gets into the limo. Rob Schneider's like, a cheese pizza just for you or whatever. And he opens the box on the street of New York, curbside at the hotel, and the steam coming off of that pizza. It's incredible. I think it's just a great cinematic moment. Like, you know how they had to like get the pizza actually super hot and then go out in the cold and open it real quick so that the steam was fresh. I think that just looks great. It's like a small but significant credit to the filmmaking, I think.
Yeah, for his faults, John Hughes like knows how to capture like what his characters want or get like into their heads, and like what's better than being like, imagine being a 10-year-old, having your own limo, having your own pizza, like, and just be free range and go wherever you want to, the biggest toy store in the world. So yeah, I think you're right there. It captures that like that wish fulfillment you guys were talking about earlier.
Yep. Which is so prevalent in 90s movies. And I later learned that a lot of which are written by John Hughes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this movie and Dennis the Menace and many others that are very similar. A lot starring Macaulay Culkin, sure. But that 90s child wish fulfillment was definitely a thing. At least it's something we talk about on this podcast very regularly. The thing I remember about this movie was Kevin is in this hotel for a long time and he kind of gets up to hotel shenanigans. But it's actually not the case at all in terms of runtime. It's very interesting to me that it's about 30 minutes into the movie where Kevin checks into the hotel. And then it's about 43 minutes into the movie that Tim Curry finds out that the credit card is reported stolen. Mm-hmm. So the jig is up. Mm-hmm. That's a very short amount of time. It's about 13 to 15 minutes that we get like the hotel shenanigans, which does include a scene we didn't talk about where Kevin cannonballs into a pool. Really kind of
and loses his shorts.
Probably like the one moment that could easily be cut with like no story repercussions whatsoever.
I did like the moment where he actually like respected the other people that were at the pool, though, where he was just going to go for the cannonball. And then he backs up and says, "Do you guys mind if I work on my cannonball a little bit?" And they were like, "All right, go ahead." Give him the nod, give him the blessing.
He's trying to be a class act.
It's like, you weigh 65 pounds. Don't worry. You're not going to splash us. We're not worried about it.
But Korey touched on that point of like you remembering the hotel shenanigans being a bigger part. I think it's because that's the memorable part of this movie, because otherwise it's, like I said before, verbatim the same script from the previous one. It's like the original one's like an hour and 40. This one's 2 hours. That 20 minutes of being in the hotel is like the additional, more interesting part.
God, that is so damning. This movie's 20 minutes longer than the original. That's a problem. Like, that shouldn't be. There's no reason for this extra 20 minutes.
Aside from the shower scene, what other shenanigans were there really in the hotel? There really wasn't. He spent the night, right?
Coming up later, there are more shenanigans, how he makes his great escape.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, in that window between checking in and concierge finding out that the credit card was stolen, he really wasn't up to much.
No.
He kind of like holds his money over Rob Schneider because like he clearly understands the concept of a tip, and then like trolls him later. He's like, "Well, I guess you didn't want all this money," and like slams a door in his face.
You didn't want this envelope of money.
I'm sorry, you wanted a tip.
That won't be necessary, sir. I still have some tip left over.
No tip? Okay.
No. Wait.
Well, he probably didn't want to break any large bills.
He did a full Adam Sandler where he just kind of like waving his money in front of Rob Schneider and saying, "Ooh, you can't make the money." Like that, just mocking him. Fucking hate that guy.
Get out of here. Go on, get out of here. Get out of here. Go on, get out of here. Beat it. Get out of here. Hey, Mark, get over here. I gotta talk to you.
So meanwhile, elsewhere, Joe Pesci is beating the shit out of pigeons with his newspaper. I guess he's not a fan of the good feathers, but Ronnie, maybe you can kind of tell us about what his plan is. Harry and Marv, that is, the Sticky Bandits.
Oh my god. So yeah, the Sticky Bandits are back at it again in New York. They somehow sneak out of Chicago and out of the prison and then hightail it on like a fishmonger truck. And their big plan is to rob a toy store on Christmas Eve because no one's stupid enough to do that except for them. And as I think Jonathan said, they want to steal money from cancer kids. I don't know if they know they're doing that, but they don't really care one way or the other. They're going for those big dollars at Duncan's toy chest.
They need cash.
It's like Kevin is to evil as Duncan is to benevolence. Like, this guy is nuts. Like, he gives away all of the profit from the biggest toy day of the year to children's cancer. Like, who is this fucking saint? Like, what the hell? That's the nicest thing I've ever heard anyone doing ever.
So yeah, so then Kevin, I'm not sure if I'm jumping ahead here, but Kevin shows up to Duncan's toy chest. He tells the limo driver, "Take me to a toy store," and he takes him to the toy store apparently. And then this comes like that weird magical kind of Christmassy moment again. Korey, if I'm jumping ahead, stop me.
No, go ahead.
But Kevin walks up and he's buying some kind of like Barney. Who's the green character in Barney? Like the green dinosaur. Do you remember her name?
Yes, but it's not that. He's buying
Baby Bop.
BJ?
Baby Bop, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
He's buying Monster Sap, which is a soap dispenser. It's a toy soap dispenser.
Of course you fucking know that.
Okay, I have a little problem with this toy store, though.
I have a big problem, but go ahead.
Okay, this toy store was really not a great toy store. Like, there was nothing to play with, dude. This was all white people's decorations for Christmas at this toy store.
I'm so glad someone else feels this way, because this might be the reason I want to review this fucking movie, is to complain about Duncan's toy chest.
I'll grab my beer. Go ahead.
Please, go. Please. I want to hear this. This is probably going to be really good.
I think I have more toys in this room than they have in that fucking toy store.
Says a lot about you.
Fuck off. Duncan's toy chest is like a toy store with absolutely no toys. It's all like Christmas ornaments, table decorations, and like 10,000 nutcrackers, right? Maybe there's some model trains in there. But imagine going there as a kid. I mean, like, I'm gonna buy some fucking toys. And it's like, what are you gonna get? Some turtle doves? Monster sap? Like, Kevin buys soap from this fucking place because there's no toys, man. He buys soap.
There are 5 floors, they say. And we only see the first one there. So just to be a dick and fight with you, there are 4 more levels of other trinkets and soap dispensers.
Yeah, 4 more levels of Santa Claus dolls, of like, elf ornaments and other bullshit, I'm sure.
That looks like one of those stores that I would go in as a kid where my parents would be like, put your hands in your fucking pockets. Don't touch anything. If you break it, I'm going to kick your ass.
I take back what I said about Duncan. This whole thing's clearly a money laundering scheme. He's got a toy store with no toys. He donates all of his profits. Something weird is going on here.
Who wants to play with a 7-foot tall Ferris wheel? What the fuck? That's the lamest toy in that store.
It looks awesome, but
it does look awesome though. I got to say that. Like, if I went there now, as an adult in his 30s, I would love this place because it has such a 90s Christmas vibe. It looks magical. It's the kind of place that you go to like take pictures more so than like to buy things. Maybe you buy a couple things here and there, but like this would be like the Instagram hotspot of New York, right? Like people go there on the holidays and they take pictures with all this stuff.
I would love to take my kids there and be like, hey, look, this is all the stuff we're not going to buy. Merry Christmas.
It's more like Clark Griswold than it is like Santa's like village or whatever. But going back to like the magical moment here. So Kevin's talking to Duncan, and then he says, "Here, I'm gonna give you $20 to give to the poor kids, even though I have like thousands of dollars maybe in this envelope here. 10 grand.
10 grand and a credit card with no limit.
Yeah, but here's $20. So Kevin's doing a nice thing, I suppose, after he buys a soap dispenser, and says, "Here, I don't need $20. I'm just gonna, rot my brain out or my teeth." And then Duncan does something really nice. For free, after receiving $20, he gives him a free set of turtle doves. So for free, after a $20 interaction, he gets the 2 turtle doves that become symbolic later.
What do you think, Pappy? You a turtle dove man?
I'm not. No, I'm more of a 4 calling birds type guy.
Yeah, I figured.
2 turtle doves.
The song's all about birds.
I don't know. The thing is like, this is supposed to be like a Christmas movie, right? It's supposed to be like heartwarming.
Oh, it is a Christmas movie.
Right. And what are the values when you think about Christmas movies? You think about like, family, togetherness, love, like giving, right? And it's like, yeah, Ronnie, to your point, like he quote unquote gives $20 of quote his own money, which he's never going to pay his fucking parents back for, by the way, for sure. And then like
he lies.
The way that he wants to stick up for the kids with cancer is through like just mass violence, like crimes against humanity against like these 2 robbers. Like, I don't know, like the turtle dove stuff does nothing for me, like emotionally. I'm not feeling it in my Christmas soul.
I think it's like the weird thing between this movie and the original one is like the first one's about survival, right? Like Kevin's just defending his house and surviving against these intruders. This one, like you kind of said earlier, it's like Kevin's
vigilante justice.
He's on a vacation, a murder vacation.
He's on a murder vacation, and then he goes out of his way to fuck over these guys. And once, I guess we can get to it later. I don't want to jump ahead, but like the lesson feels more tacked on than the other one here. But before I forget, because I keep forgetting, I keep saying the magical moment. So after he gets his turtle doves, has the conversation, he turns back and Duncan disappears. And I'm wondering, is it like supposed to be like Duncan's a ghost or Duncan Santa Claus, or he's just Batman? Like who? Like what's going on with Duncan here? He just kind of disappears when Kevin turns around again.
He's Michael
I thought
Myers.
He had a stroke.
Fell down on the ground.
Yeah, he ducked.
Plot twist: like he doesn't even work there. He just took the $20 and went back down to the street.
Another sucker.
Gotcha, bitch.
Some guy comes up, some employee's like, "Where are the turtle doves missing from the tree?"
What keeps happening? It's turtle doves.
Jonathan, if you had 2 turtle doves, would you give me one?
No, because I probably just wouldn't have two turtle doves.
No,
Damn.
Jonathan would return the turtle doves, get his $20 back, then buy you a soap dispenser.
No, what I would do is I'd go buy that steaming hot pizza, man. I'm going to add that to my bucket list. I would love to have an open box pizza like that in a cold New York.
Oh, yeah.
Steam coming off.
Hell yes, dude.
Bucket
Rob
list.
Schneider to hand it to you?
That's questionable.
Mr. McAllister, here's your very own cheese pizza.
Take a look in 5 and 10.
The whole time with that scene with Duncan, all I could think about was National Lampoon's Vacation because he was the owner of Wally World.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. He had to come down and talk to Clark because Wally World was closed, which was Six Flags.
Yeah,
which was down the street from where we live.
Yeah.
Over here. Yeah, it was pretty. It was a cool scene.
Yeah, Duncan, that actor, he's like kind of an old school actor. He's been in a lot of stuff, but I know him from another movie, which is Rookie of the Year, which is actually directed by Marv, Daniel Stern, who's also a character in the movie, but he owns the Chicago Cubs in Rookie of the Year.
Oh, that's okay. That's a good movie. Or I remember it being a good movie.
It's not a good movie.
Okay, never mind. I'm wrong. Scratch that.
But we'll podcast on it anyway.
It's no worse than Angels in the Outfield.
Speaking of Pigeon Lady, she runs the foster care in Angels of the Outfield.
Oh my God, this is a money laundering scheme by Daniel Stern. Oh God.
So Kevin leaves the toy store, but is quickly seen and apprehended by the Sticky Boys, Harry and Marv.
The sticky hands boys.
The cocky boys.
Sticky Boys Club.
It's a Christmas miracle that these three are reunited once again at this exact moment, and they all kind of meet at this spot that they're all interested in, Duncan's toy chest. So they go to grab Kevin, but they're in the busy streets of New York, so Kevin just like screams. He's not home alone anymore.
Yeah.
You know, he's lost in New York.
I love how nobody does anything, even when he screams as loud as he could possibly scream. Like, unless he yelled rape or something, like, nobody was going to do anything for
Even
this kid.
then, maybe. I don't know. You
No
know?
one even
Still.
stops.
That's the most realistic thing in this movie is that no one gives a shit about this child being chased by two creepy men in the middle of New York, the most populated part of the United States.
Maybe you're right.
Take that, New York. I got 3 out of 50. Keep going.
Kevin runs away from these guys and does a quick prank, you know, setting up more to come later, much more to come, but he gets the beads and he throws them on the floor. It's like kind of like Three Ninjas style, right? And the bad guys slip on him and fall.
Honestly, I love the accuracy of him buying jewelry from a Jamaican on the sidewalk in New York City, though. Like, that's so cool.
Bit of realism.
Two of like the only African Americans in the entire movie because this movie's full of whiteys.
Oh, yeah. So Kevin, you know, he runs back to the hotel where he thinks it's safe, but now he's confronted by Tim Curry, who accuses him of using a stolen credit card. And Kevin runs away from him. You know, the hotel staff, as we know them, are all after him. Kevin runs through the lobby. This time, there's no Donald Trump to help him. He runs into the elevator, makes his way up to the room. And Pappy, he's got to do some quick thinking again. You know, they're on his tail, but he's in the room. What's Kevin's solution to this problem here?
Remember the first movie where he gets a free pizza by playing clips of the movie? What is it? Angels, Even Filthier Souls or something?
Angels in the Outfield.
Angels with even filthier souls in this movie.
If you like that, then we have more of it. He plays a movie clip which, you know, I think later in the movie, Catherine O'Hara like blames the hotel staff. I can see that going back and forth because, again, Kevin is a force of pure evil in this world. but they really need to like just turn the corner and see who they're talking to, right? Like all they have to do is just like turn, like, can you come out here? Can we see you? Like they are just totally convinced by this 90s analog TV playing a black and white movie from like the 50s that it's a real person in there with a real gun.
You was here last night too, wasn't you?
Yes, sir. I was.
You was here, and you was smooching with my brother. I'm afraid you're mistaken, sir. Don't give me that. You've been spooching with everybody. Snuffy, Al, Leo, Little Mo with the gimpy leg, Cheeks, Bony Bob, Cliff. No. It's a lie. I could go on forever, baby.
The only one that could be fooled by that was probably Cliff, because he's like a 90-year-old
Yeah.
security guard. His ears were probably shot.
Cliff thinks he was really smooching. He's like, when did we do that?
Cliff got busted out. Yeah. Cliff, there was something going on.
You said you wouldn't tell anybody, Tim.
He was definitely doing some gay shit with Tim Curry.
Dude, the security at this hotel are like the oldest fogies they could have possibly hired. They're like these Walmart greeters that they got to be the security for this fucking upscale hotel.
It's the Plaza, dude. Nothing bad happens there. I mean, if Uncle Donnie can stay there, come on.
Yeah, he actually owns the place, or he did at the time.
When the movie says, get on your knees, Tim Curry just gets this big smile on his face. He's like, all right, if I must.
It's like, I've been here before.
This again.
It's even dumber than that, though, because, like, who do they think that is? Because they go to that room. They know that there is no Mr. McAllister. Like, Kevin's been lying. So, like, who do they think is in there? Some rando with a gun just, like, happens to be there as well with that child? Like, what is going on here?
A disgruntled guest with a gun. The reason that clip worked when he did it to the Wet Bandits in the first movie is because he started letting off firecrackers when the gun was firing. Mm-hmm. That being said, he does it without firecrackers with the pizza guy. But, like, that doesn't work, right? No one hears a gun from a TV and thinks a real gun is being fired.
Yeah, and that was lame. And that was like a 13-inch, tiny little TV, the most dog shit speakers. You know, he was in the fireworks shop in the beginning of the movie. He should have bought the little firecrackers.
Yeah. Done it again.
You could have used them twice. You could use half of them now and half of them in the end.
Should have just bought a real gun and started shooting. Why not?
He had the money and a couple of Jamaicans out there. He could have found one, I'm sure.
Speaking of which, Joe Pesci has a gun. And he says it in this movie. He learned from the last movie, have a gun on you in case a kid's going to foil your plans.
Yeah.
Did they actually show the gun in this movie?
Later,
though?
yeah. Like near the end. But he does have one. It's not an empty threat.
And then since I mentioned it, since like Pesci's being a thug, did you guys know that Joe Pesci is also an accomplished rapper?
Oh, yeah, dude. We actually included a clip of one of his raps in one of our episodes. I don't remember which one, but it's actually really fucking funny.
Yeah, wise guys.
I guess I got to put it in again, even though it's going to get me another copyright claim.
Well, here, if you don't put it in, I'll explain it to you. It's basically Regulate by Warren G's beat, and then Pesci just says, bitches are the problem, y'all, over and over again.
Wow.
It's pretty great. He's actually an accomplished singer. Like, I was looking at Spotify because I was killing some time this morning. He has like at least 3 albums where he actually sings, and then it's not really my kind of jam, but then he has a whole like album where I think it's called like Little Joe like sings like you do, where he has like hip hop and like updated like 90s music. It's pretty awful.
The 90s were wild, yo.
It's a funny game that it's all the same. Can't think what I've just said, but there's something upon my head. If millions of eyes all see.
So Kevin runs out the back of the hotel, right? He exits through the loading dock where the sticky bandits are waiting for him. He's apprehended again, right? Jonathan, do you remember how he gets out of this situation?
Of course he does.
Yeah, so conveniently, the plaza is like right next to, I'm assuming, is Central Park. They never really say that it's Central Park, but he's able to get away from them and hides in the like I don't know what you call that. Is that they call that the trunk or a storage container of the horse and carriage? Yeah.
But you're missing an important detail here. Kevin sexually assaults a woman.
But it's okay.
That's how he gets away.
Oh yeah, you're so right. They
wish fulfillment, right?
It's such a funny trolley problem. It's like sexually assault a woman, free a child from being kidnapped. Like which one do you pull the lever?
Exactly. It's like a morality question. It's like an episode of Star Trek.
It doesn't count if you're a kid, though.
I want to hear Captain Kirk like do that. Do you grab someone's ass just to escape being murdered?
Is it okay to do it? Yeah.
But the scene's actually set up because earlier Marv gets punched in the mouth before Kevin assaults the girl. Does he accidentally grab her the first time? I can't remember.
He accidentally sticks his hand to her purse.
That's what it is.
It's the same girl, right?
Yeah, same girl.
Yeah. And we get to see the 1-2 punch from her. It's awesome.
Yeah, so the family finds out that Kevin is in New York, right? The credit card information has gotten to them. So they're going to come to New York to try to find him. And Kevin is now on his own. He can't stay at the hotel. The jig is up. The credit card is put on hold. He tries to find some family that he has in New York, but they're not home. So no luck there. More on that, of course, later. Very famous part of the movie. So he cruises the streets alone, where he kind of like runs into a few different like funny characters, right, Pappy?
Watch it, kid!
Hey, you looking for somebody to read you a bedtime story?
Taxi!
Yeah, I mean, like, other than Pigeon Lady, who are you thinking of?
Well, there's the guy that laughs in his face.
Yeah.
The taxi driver.
And the prostitutes.
Boy, it's scary out there.
Ain't much better in here, kid.
Yeah, there are prostitutes who want to read him a bedtime story. He gets in the cab, and the guy's like, Kevin's like, it's scary out there. And the guy's like, it's scarier in here, or something like that.
Yeah, it's Colin Farrell as the Penguin is the taxi driver, I'm pretty sure.
And it's funny that you say that because when he gets into Central Park and sees the Pigeon Lady, I got Batman Returns vibes, like hardcore. Like I literally thought it was like the same set.
Mm-hmm.
It's that Christmas energy, you know?
Yeah.
It is interesting that just like in a flash of a moment in a 90s kids movie, a child is solicited for sex by prostitutes. Very interesting thing that, you know, just don't see him like that anymore.
They smelled the money on him. They said, he's got money. He's kind of like Pennywise, but with cash.
Blank check, dude.
You could never make Home Alone 2 today, Korey. They wouldn't let you.
He basically says ew to homeless people, and that gets offensive.
Until he finds a nice one.
Mm-hmm. The shit with Pigeon Lady is by far my biggest memory from this movie. I watched this movie many, many times as a child. And as an adult, I really don't know what to think about it. Because it's like, listen, society has failed the Pigeon Lady, not Kevin. Like, this turtle dove's not gonna get her soup. Like, she's gonna still die on the streets alone. Like, what? I don't know. Like, it's just, South Bend Slasher is just so much more emotionally resonant. And, like, his story with his family and everything. Like, I don't even, like, what's Pigeon Lady's deal? She got broken up with once?
Dude, her story is so lame. Like, she just said, like, she wanted kids, and her husband just fell out of love with her. So what? You're just going to go live on the fucking streets in the park and start, like, being friends with pigeons so that your heart never gets broken again? Like, shut the fuck up.
What kind of Miss Havisham shit is going on, you know?
Dude, what? So lame. Just get out there, dude. Somebody.
Get on Tinder.
Yeah,
you know?
Right? POF, dude.
Kind of combining this scene and the next scene where they go to like some kind of music hall, which is remnant of them being in the church. But like I wrote down, like they say trust, they say hearts, rollerblades, pigeons, and doing dirty deeds done dirt cheap for Christmas. Like in the first movie, the hash slinging slashers like connects that, like his story, his needs connect to Kevin. This one doesn't make sense to me because Kevin tries to connect with her and say, yeah, I have rollerblades that I didn't use. And it's kind of like your heart. If you don't use it, you grow out of it, and it's like this, like John Hughes was like coming off the coke bender, and like he ran out of ideas because like his conversation with Rosie O'Donnell does not make sense.
He's talking about her private parts. He's like, listen, if you don't use them, you kind of just waste them.
You don't use it, you lose it, bitch.
Yeah, that thing's probably sealed up by now.
Oh, God damn it.
I'm just afraid if I do trust someone, I'll get my heart broken again.
I understand that. I used to have this really nice pair of rollerblades. And I was afraid if I wore them, I'd wreck them. So I kept them in a box. And do you know what happened?
No.
I outgrew them. I never wore them once outside. I just wore them in my room a couple times.
A person's heart and a person's feelings are very different than skates.
Well, they're kind of the same thing. If you aren't going to use your heart, then what's the difference if it gets broken? If you just keep it to yourself, maybe it'll be like my rollerblades. When you do decide to try it, it won't be any good. You should take a chance. Got nothing to lose.
But a truth in there somewhere.
I mean, you saw where she lives, dude. She clearly doesn't have a bathroom. She lives, in this like random space above this orchestra hall.
Yeah, she lives right above what I assume to be Carnegie Hall. I don't know.
Dude, that's an insane place to live, though.
She's seen all the greats there. Frank Sinatra,
John Williams,
Milli Vanilli. Yeah, John Williams.
Yeah, this scene sucks. I gotta say, this is like probably the worst scene in the whole movie for me. It's so hand-fisted, so forced, and it lacks the emotional pull of the previous movie, which the intention of the scene is actually the same. It's like to resolve this issue with a side character and to motivate Kevin to take action, right? They have like a similar result, these two scenes. But the first one, it just feels like so much more powerful. Like I feel sympathy for the guy in the first movie, the old snow shoveler guy, in a way that I don't for the pigeon lady, despite her being homeless. Like when he's talking about like his grandkids and the falling out he had with his kids, and his grandkid is like right there, so that might be a helpful factor. They're in the church and his grandkid's on stage singing, and he only gets to see them when he comes to an event like this, and you kind of just feel the sadness in that guy's voice, as to where this one is just a cheap ripoff, and it really is, and it feels it.
She's sad, and then she stays sad. Like, there's no resolution to her character.
Oh, no, she's still homeless.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't, like, magically just go get a job somewhere. She doesn't decide to do anything with her life. Or
Kevin can't even spot her $20, dude.
Yeah, that part's kind of fucked up, too. But
he gives her a bird. Come on, guys. You guys are being really, like...
he gives her how fucked up is that? That further proves how much of an asshole Kevin is. She doesn't have a fucking Christmas tree, and he gives her an ornament, Like, here, you homeless bitch. Fucking have this Christmas ornament. Remember me. Like...
Well, it's like Ronnie said, too. Like, in the first one, that connects, like, thematically to what Kevin's going through and, like, his estrangement with his own family and like learning to appreciate them. Like, what is Kevin supposed to do with like this information from the home lady? Go back to the prostitute and be like, hey, I got to put myself out there. Like, I can't, like, what?
I do want a bedtime story, as it turns out.
Yeah.
I have learned a lesson.
How much does it cost to get a bedtime story read to me? I swear, officer, all I wanted was a bedtime story.
I think it's also oversimplifying like the pigeon lady situation, right? Like, homelessness is a complicated challenge to like, how do you fix it? Because I live in California, we can't fix that shit at all. So, but like her being homeless is all attributed to her being sad, as opposed to like the tens of millions of reasons and problems you might be having with homelessness. But and then Kevin doesn't fix it. So like, reconnecting with family, easy fix. The homeless epidemic in New York, how do you fix that? Here's a fucking dove.
Yeah. Eric Adams just like airdrops a bunch of ornaments over homeless encampments in New York. Like, this will fix it. Like, we did it.
Friendship.
Yeah.
That's how you do it, man.
They're going to run the money laundering scheme through Duncan's toy store, giving ornaments to homeless people across New York.
Right. Yeah.
If you just put ornaments on the homeless, they're festive now. So problem solved.
At least the city looks nicer.
Mayor Adams, where did you get the money for that new Maserati? Why does the license plate say Turtle Dove? Like,
our new homeless initiative.
Yeah.
All the money in the cash register, Mr. Duncan is going to donate to the Children's Hospital.
At midnight tonight, we're hitting Duncan's toy chest.
You can mess with a lot of things, but you can't mess with kids on Christmas.
So guys, in the first movie, Kevin had a showdown with the bandits, like as a form of self-defense, right? They were trying to break into that house, steal things, do whatever. But here, he's gonna show down with them again, but this time in the name of justice. He says, you can mess with a lot of things, but you can't mess with kids on Christmas. It's true, right, Jonathan? You can't.
I don't think you should mess with kids any day.
On Christmas.
No, just Christmas. That's the only day.
If I've learned anything.
What's insane is Kevin has all the clues to give to Mr. Police. Like, he has the recording of them admitting to planning the crime. He knows where they'll be.
There's only one man that can handle this job.
No, he's doing it because he likes it. He loves this.
There's only one kid evil enough to stop them.
He gets off on this shit. There's no other conclusion as to why he's doing it.
It's his favorite holiday pastime at this point, right?
He misses the thrill.
It's just Bugs Bunny. It's just like he just wants to fuck with them. Like it's what it is.
Next year, when they don't go on a family vacation because fuck Kevin, his Christmas is going to be so anticlimactic, not fighting off the sticky bandits.
Well, he's going to like find ways to like pay off inmates to like prank them in prison, right? Like, so like they still get it every year.
Fucking trust fund babies.
Oh, Kevin will pretend to be like a pen pal for Marv, and like he'll fall in love, and then he'll just like catfish him the entire time.
Yeah, catfish him.
Dude, what a sick 11-year-old kid trying to catfish a grown man in prison. That's disgusting.
Well, like, as Kevin gets older, his pranks get more fucked up and awful.
Yeah. His evil knows no bounds.
Well, we all saw how the 90s were to Macaulay Culkin, so...
Too much time with Michael Jackson.
We're in like montage mode here. Kevin goes to Uncle Rob's vacant home. It's there in New York, and he's going to enact Operation Ho Ho Ho, as it's called. He's got a diagram written on top of some blueprints. Jonathan, this home, though, I called it a house. What's like the state of this home? I mean, it's not just your run-of-the-mill house that people live in.
As a construction electrician for many years, I have seen the states of so many homes. Rebuilds, fire damage,
remodeling in this case.
Remodeling, anything. And this house is insanely set up. I mean, even for the early 90s and very loose OSHA regulations, this is wild. I mean, this is a 3-story house, including the basement, and you take one step in through the front door and you're in the basement falling 2 floors down. Like, dude, there is no way.
This place was already trapped.
I mean, this place really looks like it was an abandoned house that had been run down due to unsafe living conditions and has just become so dilapidated. It's insane.
I love how like his uncle is just like says, let's do all the demolition first, and then like have a home where we can't live in, and then just slowly like remodel everything like piece by piece. Like it's just a nightmare.
This is like one of those like condemned buildings, right? It's like
absolutely
this place is fucked up. Like
a homeless encampment.
It has a hole in the floor like Breaking Bad, like the fucking bathtub fell through the top floor.
Yes, absolutely. And the really ridiculous thing is that so this is like I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 homes that are all kind of attached together in one building. All the homes on both sides have like Christmas decorations out and Christmas lights up in their windows, and then right in the middle you have this fucked up house.
Yeah, ruining the property value of the whole neighborhood.
Yeah, terrible.
Oh, how unfortunate the couple's off in Paris instead of fixing their goddamn homes.
I thought about that, man. Like, I know people like shit on John Hughes for making movies about rich white people, and I always thought like the good defense was, listen, he grew up a rich white person. He's just writing what he knows. It's totally fair, but like,
Well, at least this one was about a poor white person in the Bronx or something.
But to have a plot point in your movie where someone's like doing this $5 million renovation on their like brownstone and like others in Paris while it's happening, it's just like, what the fuck? Like, my brain could never think of that idea.
In the last scene, we just saw a very, very poor person covered in bird shit. Like, just like the polar opposites.
He wanted to be really inclusive. I mean, he was far more inclusive in this movie than we realized.
There's one shot, Korey, of the house, and I'm sorry if this is skipping ahead, that pisses me off more than anything else, but there's this like exterior tube that comes down, right? It's totally vertical, straight up and down. We see Macaulay Culkin get into it, then the next shot is him like army crawling through the tube as if it was horizontal. Like, it makes no sense. It's like,
they cut away from that so quick. Like, don't think about it.
Yeah.
Moving on.
What?
Yeah, it was a cylindrical trash chute to throw the trash from the top floor down. And Kevin would have had to go up like 20 feet.
He fucking Mario's up that bitch.
In a flexible tube. Yeah.
Wahoo!
Yeah.
He thinks it's like a slide at McDonald's, just is kind of like, army crawling the way up there.
Insane.
What kind of hotel allows a child to check in alone?
The boy had a very convincing story.
What kind of idiots do you have working here?
The finest in New York.
So, Kevin's getting to work here. He's planning for the big showdown. I gotta say, the big showdowns were always my favorite moments of the movies as a kid. But Kevin's parents, they arrive in New York. They make their way to the Plaza Hotel. They confront the hotel staff. I believe the mom slaps Tim Curry unnecessarily. And even though that slap I don't think is good or necessary, Tim Curry looking like he's about to cry is very fucking solid.
I'm going to go down to the police station and make sure that they're doing everything in their power to find Kevin. I want you to stay here with Frank, Leslie, and the kids.
No, I'm going out to look for him.
What? With all due respect, madam, your son is lost in one of the biggest cities in the world.
Could you stay out of this, please?
As you wish.
Thank you. I don't think it's a good idea for you to start running around all over New York City all by yourself.
I think if our son can do it, I can do it. Okay, but Peter, I'll be fine. The way I'm feeling right now, no mugger or murderer would dare mess with me.
Madam, there are hundreds of parasites out there, armed to the teeth. Do bundle up. It's awfully cold outside.
She, verbally dresses him down and then physically does it. It's just it's overkill, but, it's Moira Rose. She's a pro.
The McAllisters are taking no responsibility for their negligence as a parent and just projecting onto anyone they can find. She yells at a cop at one point, listen, it's not their fault. You lost your kid and he committed credit fraud so he could torture criminals.
And they immediately wanted to catch him and call the police on him for breaking the law.
Right.
Well, if there was ever a case to be made for white privilege, it was that. It's the McAllisters, for sure.
Yeah, and then Kevin's just oh, you rascal, go on home. Don't do it again. Versus, he deserves jail.
Or you're going to sleep with Fuller.
Yeah.
They were ready to lie to the cops, too. Because the cop was like, has he ever been alone before? Home alone? And they're like, no. And the dad's like, all right, let's not lie to the cop. All right, okay, yeah. He was home alone last year.
The credit card fraud, all this stuff is all justified just because they lost their kid. It's like the ends don't justify the means. People get arrested for stealing small things, but then Kevin can run up with 10 grand. And that's $1,000 in food, but that suite's probably a couple grand. They can just do all that just because his parents lost him, and they can definitely fucking afford that room, no problem.
So it's time to showdown with the bad guys. Jonathan, Kevin shows up to Duncan's toy chest where the sticky bandits are executing their heist. He shows up with a brick and a seesaw. How did things go down?
So the bandits, apparently they must have hidden out inside the toy store before they closed, which would be easily done. I mean, that store was so crowded and so full of shit that anybody could hide there. It gave me a Bad Santa vibes, where they hid inside the mall, wait for them to set the alarms. But so Kevin shows up. Somehow he knew exactly at the time that they were going to be stealing. He takes a picture of them with all the cash. I mean, they had I don't know. What do you think? $100,000 or something like that?
Oh yeah, easily.
$20,000 in cash.
Happy Hanukkah, Marv.
Right?
Marv, crowbars up.
Merry Christmas, Harry.
Happy Hanukkah, Marv.
Marv is Jewish, by the way.
Noted.
No comment there. Moving on.
No wonder he didn't care about Christmas for the kids.
Anti-Christmas all the way, you know?
Yeah. And so Kevin decides that he's going to conveniently have a camera to take a picture of these guys in the action. So again, to Ronnie's point earlier, he already had the proof. Why didn't he just go to the cops? You know, now he has further proof. He writes this really heartfelt note and puts it onto a brick or a rock or whatever for Mr. Duncan, and then chucks it through the window. The bandits take note and go, oh shit, it's the Kevin kid. Chase him and conveniently end up at his neighbor or his uncle's house.
Yeah,
Which-
not before the seesaw trap, right? It's kind of like a pre-trap trap.
Yeah.
Or a prank, as Pappy calls them.
I was going to ask Ronnie this, if you just watched the first one. I don't remember those pranks being as Looney Toony as these are. Like, the physics of the seesaw prank are just absurd, right? It's so goofy. Like,
It's like they turned up the Looney Tunes a lot on this. A little more. It's the first one's still very violent. Like because Joe Pesci gets his same thing. This one gets burnt on the head with a blowtorch, and that one Marv runs into shit. But this one seems like much more violent, and the physics aren't there for the reaction. But no, it's definitely more Looney Tunesy.
Because Harry gets launched from the seesaw. He gets launched into lower atmosphere before falling back down and crashing on a car.
As if he's Superman throwing a villain through a fucking building or car. It's crazy.
But Kevin does lead them back to the house where, Operation Ho 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 is well underway. Step one, though, before we get into the individual stuff here, step one might be my favorite, where it's Kevin just on the roof, launching bricks at their faces. That, not a lot of setup for that one. It's kind of like in the first movie, he's like, I'm just going to shoot him with a gun. When he has the BB gun, it's just very practical. Just throw bricks at him. He's got good aim.
Nothing would thrill me more greatly than to shoot you. Knocking off a youngster ain't gonna mean all that much to me. Understand? Mm-hmm. But since we're in a hurry, I'll make a deal with you. You throw down your camera, and we won't hurt you. You'll never hear from us again. Okay?
You promise?
I cross my heart and hope to die.
Okay.
Okay, kid. Give it to me.
Direct hit.
I like that Kevin's using the things of his surroundings, right? He uses the BB gun because he has it at home. And then, I don't know, the bricks are so visceral to me in this. Even as a kid, I remember going, it's the bricks to me are the Peter Totter is too much and the silliness, but the bricks are so violent of him, Marv just getting hit 4 times in the fucking face with bricks. It's so ridiculous.
it's like when you see Daffy Duck hold a piece of TNT and it explodes and his bill turns around. It's funny because that's a cartoon and it's so silly. When you see a man get hit in the face repeatedly with a brick, it's hard to laugh at that.
It's kind of
That's
funny.
Nuts, dude.
It's funny in a really fucked up kind of way, I guess. If you know anything about me, I like really fucked up weird movies, but I don't know, something about Barb just getting hit in the head with 4 bricks and him just stumbling around. I don't know. I think it's too far to the reality. My brain goes, bricks kill people. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, the makeup does a lot of the heavy lifting, I think, right? Like the immediate like indents that he gets on his forehead and face from like the corners of the bricks. I think that looks really great. I've always really appreciated that.
Yeah, the continuity of all the results of all these tricks and traps in both movies, like this is what everyone's tuning in for, right? Like you know, the original one, everyone remembers all the traps. The second one, they got to do traps, even though, like you said, Pappy, like just turn them in. Like that would make sense. We can't have Home Alone without the traps. It's the whole movie. But yeah, like consistency of like how like they slowly get fucked up and beaten up by this child is always been like a really fun little thing in my brain. Like, oh yeah, they take a lot of like note of that and are very consistent.
The amount of hits that these guys take is just unreal. I mean, these guys deserve to be locked up. How many bricks does it take to the face to realize that this kid at 1 o'clock in the morning is not throwing down the camera from the roof? You know what I mean? Like
4.
Apparently.
Well, it's like they're getting beat the shit out of them with bricks, and they go in the house and they're turning every doorknob and they're pulling on every light switch. Like they're asking for it.
Yeah, I mean, Pappy, this is real prank time here. This is prime time prank mode. What are some of the favorite ones that you got? Like, what are some that you remember?
I mean, the main one that I remember, and I think we've talked about this before on another podcast, but Marv gets the absolute ever-living shit shocked out of him to the point where he becomes a skeleton. Like, that shit is really funny.
I think that's one of the all-time great moments in cinema right there. And I mean that pretty earnestly, actually.
Oh, you do?
Marv getting electrocuted is fucking brilliant.
Yeah. He becomes a skeleton.
My daughter loved that scene. Yeah. She thought it was awesome.
There's 3 phases of it. There's him getting shocked regular.
Yeah.
There's him getting shocked with his hair standing up. It cuts to that. And then there's him getting shocked as a skeleton with hair and a beard. And then it's back to phase 2 where the hair is sticking up. And his hair is sticking up like that for the rest of the movie to maintain the continuity, like Ronnie was alluding to.
I think it was a nice touch.
It's great. Jonathan, speaking as an electrician, though, you gotta get every time. I mean, someone gets shocked in a movie, you seem to be on the episode. Is it real? Is it realistic? Do we turn into skeletons when we get?
Good question.
It depends on how much power is available, whether or not you turn into a skeleton or not. That little welder was probably only a 50 amp welder. There's no way. And to get to the point where he got cooked like that, I guarantee the breaker trips long before. So no. Myth busted.
The part that makes me laugh is that like the sociopathicness of Kevin is like he turns it up. Like Marv is already getting shocked. And he's like, fuck this guy. He cranks it and it gets to the biggest enough like ampage or wattage to shock him till he's a skeleton.
This shit goes to 11, baby.
It's so fucking funny. I don't know. Like it's so over the top and goofy, but like you said, the first trap is teeter-totter onto a car. So whatever. This is a farce. It's fun.
Yeah.
I think the prank just prior to that, though, where Marv gets all the staples shot at him, was kind of like low-key underrated. Like
staple to the dick.
Yeah. And the face and, everywhere.
I call that a Prince Edward. What is that called?
There's that scene where he's like pulling the staple out of his nose.
Yep. That's not bad. I don't know what he's doing with that doorknob, though. Like, the doorknob on a string. What's he going to accomplish? Like, why does he keep pulling it?
I think they all have like PTSD from the torched door handles.
Yeah, but I don't know what he's doing with that.
Yeah.
He eventually has the right idea of kicking the door in, but then promptly falls down the pit of despair that's right there in their living room.
That's what I was going to say. That hole is huge, and he makes no attempt to bypass it. He just walks straight into the hole.
I think the idea is that there's obviously not much electricity in that place. There's clearly no lighting going on, right?
I saw a lot of electricity being shocked around that place.
Yeah.
Marv absorbed it all.
Yeah, there's typically like a temporary power ran into places like that, but there's no lights, dude. So how would he ever see?
Harry's actually pulling on those lights though, like they make a point of him pulling those light bulb chains, and the third one's the blowtorch again. But you're right, like they're not paying attention and they're silly. But speaking of not paying attention, like the part where like Marv is like has like the oil slick before he gets electrocuted. Like, just walk around that shit. But he doesn't even look down and all. He just keeps just marching through. He knows Kevin McAllister is like a monster and like a secret demon, and he's just gonna like lollygag through the bottom of this basement. It's so funny.
Another physics-defying moment where he slides into the rack of paint cans, right? Like he slides like downward somehow. Like the camera changes angles to demonstrate that.
The way these guys got their ass kicked by this kid in the first movie, don't you think they would be slightly prepared this time? Like, hey, we're about to enter this kid's territory right now. Like, let's get some flashlights, maybe some gloves or something.
Or maybe a gun to shoot the fucking kid on top of the roof.
Yeah, why didn't they just freaking shoot him right in the forehead from up there?
I've got a gun in my room. I'm gonna go get it, come back, bam, dead.
You just don't get it, do you, Ronnie? Yeah, there's a few other things that happen here in the house. One of the ones that I like is when Joe Pesci is outside of the house and he's trying to enter like through the back, through like the fire escape, and he sees like the ladder, and I don't know what he thinks he's going to accomplish. The ladder is slicked, right? So he tries like the Simone Biles move where he tries to like he tries to do like a gymnastic jump onto the ladder, and then he's like hanging from it. There's no way he's pulling himself up there. This dude doesn't have the upper body strength. It's not happening. But he just slips right off, you know? It's slicked down.
Aren't those old ladders supposed to, like, come down a few feet so you could actually go up? But I imagine most people keep those locked.
Yeah, it's a fire escape, so like it unlocks from the top to escape when there's a fire near top of your floor.
Yeah, so what the hell was he even thinking? Like, there's no way that his short, fat ass could haul himself up and get onto, the position where he could climb into that house.
Yeah, it's
there's
not
no
happening.
way.
You saw the last
They should have made another teeter-totter. Just like launched him up there to the roof. Like
could have dropped more bricks
controlled.
off the building onto the teeter-totter. Shoot him up there.
I don't know. Joe Pesci does another gymnastic move too, though. You guys were talking about when he gets his head lit up, right?
Yeah, that was wild, man. That's a lot of strength right there.
You mean the moment where when his head's on fire, he goes into the toilet?
Absolutely.
Because there's a toilet, like the water doesn't work, so he can't put out the fire. Obviously, he should just take off his hat, right? But he doesn't do that.
No.
His head's on fire. He sees a toilet. Rather than like getting on his knees and dunking his head in, he does a fucking handstand on the toilet.
Yeah.
And like does a reverse like upside down push up to get his head into it.
Yeah, and this was one of those other Looney Tunes scenes that we were talking about where Kevin actually replaced the water in the toilet with lighter fluid. And so then we get, instead of just, a nice flame going here and Joe Pesci getting torched, like the whole house just explodes. You see smoke and fire and stuff blow out through the windows. Like, it was just so ridiculous.
Yeah, dude.
That was like one of my favorite ones. Is just like him using like his prison bod to just like dunk his head in and it lights up. I'm just like, it's crazy.
Yeah, like this
His
was
prison
totally
bod. Like Nick Cage and Con Air. Like,
yeah. This was totally a reach to copy the same torch prank from the original Home Alone movie where Joe Pesci just ran outside and stuck his head in the snow to cool it off, right? And like that was so much more realistic. It worked. This was just such a reach. It's ridiculous.
Can I say though, as like an effect, looks pretty good. Like I don't know how is his hat really on fire? Like how are they doing that? It's not CGI.
It does look like a good effect, I gotta say, yeah. And I'm sure it's like some head attachment that is on fire that probably couldn't have been lit up for very long, but pretty cool, I gotta say.
Can you imagine being Joe Pesci? You just like your Oscar nomination for Goodfellas, and then you're coming back to this, and like, hey, do you want to put a fire? Like, can you let your head on fire? It's like, no, I'm too good for this, and I rap.
I always wanted to make an edit of like Joe Pesci getting hurt by Kevin McAllister, but then like putting in like ADR of him from another movie, like cussing profusely.
You motherfucker.
Happy Hanukkah, Marv.
Get this through your head, you Jew motherfucker, you. You only exist out here because of me.
You motherfucker. You Jew fuck. Well, that's Casino. You know? He says that.
Yeah, he does.
I'm not saying that. He says that.
No, he does. Yeah, you're right.
So yeah, they're getting pranked all the livelong day. Any other good ones, Jonathan?
Well, there's the end final prank where they are climbing this rope, and Marv is like, "Oh, you wearing cologne or some stupid shit?" And he's like, "No, it's kerosene." And then they light this rope on fire. Who the fuck can climb a rope, dude? Like, I mean, definitely not these two guys.
On the same rope at the same time.
3 stories up.
Yeah.
It's just one of the most ridiculous ones for sure.
Kevin makes his way down there. Very impressive. Climbing down a rope is tough, I gotta say.
They didn't learn from the first movie because they literally, like in the first one, like Kevin does the zip line across the treehouse, and then instead of, like they said in the first one, oh, he wants to go back through the house to go on the ropes. They definitely didn't learn from the first one. No one learns any lessons from the first movie, actually.
Very much so.
Well, these guys are definitely no better criminals than they were before, that's for sure.
Well, it makes sense because Marv got popped in the face with 4 bricks. Like, I completely understand why he's not thinking straight, but Harry should be a little bit more forward-thinking in this.
He's brain damaged.
Marv definitely is a candidate for CTE scans. Poor guy.
Are you a running back, sir? No, I was a thief for 2 years.
I'm a terrible criminal. And some little fucking kid
being haunted by a demon in a 10-year-old's body.
I want to say that when I was a kid, I had the board game of Home Alone 2. And I don't remember much about it other than that, like, it was based all around this particular scene. The game was about unleashing and setting up the traps. I remember something about there being, like, the tool bag trap, right? Where you have to, like, get it to, like, open when the villain lands on the correct space. Unfortunately, it's a game I got at a thrift store and it was missing half the pieces, so we never really got it to work, but just kind of a small note there.
It was like Mousetrap, but with Home Alone?
I think so. You know, I could be misremembering, but something like that.
I was thinking it sounded like Chutes and Ladders or something, Home Alone style.
Were there Home Alone Nintendo games? Am I remembering that correctly?
There were, yes.
Yeah.
Sega Genesis, probably.
Did you ever play them? I don't remember them. I'm sure they were hard. I feel like all of those movie tie-in games were impossible for like SNES. And
here's what I remember vaguely about the game. A game I never had and never rented, but I think I've seen some videos on. It's like one of those games where you're Kevin and you're walking through it's kind of like a left to right scroller, and there's just like a bunch of like shit flying at you, right? Like bowling balls and like things are dropping and you got to avoid them. That's what I remember about the game. Like, and you're right, Pappy, like those games were impossibly hard. That's kind of like how like the Karate Kid game was, you know, just shit coming at you nonstop and you got to like avoid it, duck it, or throw a rock at it, whatever.
I'm looking at like a screenshot now. You're exactly right. It's like a side scroller. But the one interesting thing is like Kevin is just brandishing a gun too as he makes his way through New York. Like
it's teenage Kevin then.
Yeah.
This kid's graduated.
He's just shooting Marv and Harry in the face.
Or it's kind of like I Saw the Devil. There, Korey just like catches him, lets him go, tortures him over and over again.
Lets him go so he can continue to exact his revenge.
Mm-hmm. The only other prank thing that like I don't think it's not creative, obviously, but they do a little twist on it is like the paint cans on the string. They all learned from last time. Instead, they add like some kind of metal pole of some sort, and then he just drops a tool, like a tool chest on him.
Yeah, the toolbox going down the stairs was so lame.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way that would have ever stood up. Ever.
No
way.
Yeah.
It's the toolbox conveniently went down every single step, staying upright.
Like a slinky. Yeah, just bouncing from step to step.
Yeah.
Dude, it's Craftsman. It's high quality.
They show that prominently.
Well, if you actually even look at it, like they have to like do an editing trick because it's coming down the stairs and you can see it's not going to clear like the lip of like the ceiling. So then when it recuts back to the next shot, it's already past that lip because I think they realized that Craftsman was not going to go past that. The roof.
The Sticky Bandits here, they have been hurt real bad. Their noses were bent, you know. Marv got a staple to the dick. All kinds of very painful things, but they're still chasing down Kevin. And this time they're outside the house, right after like the rope incident. Kevin tells him he's gonna call the cops, which he has already done, kind of like the first movie. He tells the cops he's gonna be in Central Park, look for fireworks. He leads the villains into the park, but like a clumsy idiot, he just kind of slips and falls. And they catch him again, right, Jonathan?
Yeah, he hits the dreaded single patch of ice in the entire area. I mean, he literally could have sidestepped left or sidestepped right and avoided the ice, but no.
Kevin is fallible after all, you know?
Yep. He falls and knocks himself out, is what I'm guessing. And the Sticky Bandits catch up to him. And you think it's over for Kevin at this point.
My, how the tables have turned.
How do you like the ice, kid? Let's go for a little stroll in the park.
So they take Kevin, I don't know where they're going, like under a bridge or something to shoot him, still in Central Park. What happens? But lo and behold, Rosie O'Donnell herself, the pigeon lady.
So, by the way, her name's Brenda Fricker.
Oh, right, yeah.
I thought it was Robin Williams.
I wrote down Mrs. Doubtfire too, like the whole Scottish accent.
Help is on the way.
Using the power of pigeons and homelessness, she douses them in.
The power of pigeons and homeless. She's like the crow, but she's like the pigeon, you know? She's got like... She's been like brought back with superpowers through pigeons.
Well, she has like really good senses because she sees or smells that they're covered in varnish first, and then just knows if I throw seed on them, the pigeons will attack.
This is honestly like the most disgusting thing that happens to them in the whole movie. I would rather die than get covered in fucking pigeons. That's so gross.
Especially New York pigeons, the grossest of the bunch. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they are covered in pigeons, and they're kind of thwarted by her. Again, mirroring the original movie where, like, Kevin's apprehended at the end. And I like the first one, though, where the guy just shows up and he just, like, bashes him over the head with a blunt object. But here it's a little bit more cartoony, right? They get the pigeons all over him. Harry does show his gun at this point, but it's all fucked up from the shenanigans. It's, like, covered in goo and slime and shit. Kerosene, I don't know, whatever it is.
Varnish.
So the gun doesn't work. It would be interesting though if it did work and he just fucking he just executed that woman right there. Kevin's stuck with 2 turtle doves.
Marv's yelling at her, "Shoot her, Harry! Shoot her! Murder her on sight!" She's got seed. Watch out, Harry.
It's a homeless lady in the park. Nobody cares. Just get rid of her.
Merry Christmas.
Dude, he would have done her a favor, ended her suffering. Yeah.
Let's get out of here.
Shut up, I said. I never made it to the 6th grade, kid. And it doesn't look like you're gonna either.
Let him go! Kevin, run!
Shoot her!
She is spending winter in a park, you know, I mean, in New York.
There's also this like just dismissiveness of Kevin towards her. Like I know they like meet up later, but after she like saves him, he's like, "Bye." Like he's just like
she got shot, and he's just like, "I'm free, peace."
Yeah.
Dude, she fucking stinks, man. She smells like bird shit. That's why she's in the park. She's staying warm, covered in bird shit.
The thing is, I don't like when you see her from like the wide angle, when you see her full body and stuff, it doesn't look like she is covered in bird shit. She is pretty clean. But when they go close, when like they're in the attic of Carnegie Hall or whatever, you do see the bird shit on her coat. But like they underplay it. Like she's not exactly Radagast from The Hobbit, right, Pappy?
Yeah, right. She's less mushrooms, whatever was happening there. Less fun, honestly, than Radagast.
Well, that dude has like shit all over his head and everything, you know, like she's they cleaned her up a little. She's a relatively clean hobo. You know, sometimes you get your heart broken and you just end up homeless. Yeah. as happens in reality, you know?
I've been homeless so many times.
Jeez, looks like the fork is behind us. Let's take the bridge. You guys get the tunnel. Let's go. Run.
Oh my God.
All right, you guys, let's go, huh?
Come on, on your feet. Take it easy.
What is this stuff?
You guys should have started earlier. The prisoners have already exchanged gifts.
We missed the presents? He made us hide out in the store so we could steal all the kiddies' charity money.
Shut up, Mark!
Fireworks are fine. I don't know. Fine fireworks, I guess, that alert the cops to their location.
It's so funny because, like, I know you're complaining earlier, Pappy, about, like, he doesn't call the cops, but he calls them after he tortures the living shit out of these people.
Ultimately, it's the same outcome. He just wanted to do the torture.
This is way more fun than just having them arrested. But they are arrested. You know, like you said, Pappy, Kevin quickly thanks the pigeon lady and runs away. We cut to Kevin's mom looking around for him. You know, she decided to look for Kevin on foot throughout New York rather than kind of stay back at the hotel.
Yeah. Just running around screaming Kevin, holding up a picture.
Yeah, middle-aged white lady running around at 1 o'clock in the morning. Have you seen this kid? Have you seen this kid?
Berating police officers trying to help her.
The cop gives her, like, legitimately good, like, advice. Hey, this is, like, the most densely populated part of the country. You're not going to find him by just shouting his name, but good luck going up and down these streets. And she gets mad at him.
Yeah, she's running around shouting Kevin. Like, it's like New York people from like their third-story building. Shut the fuck up! Like, it's like fucking Coming to America.
Yeah. yes, fuck you too.
How it feels to be lost in New York.
But it's okay though, because the power of prayer helps Moira find Kevin at Rockefeller Center.
Yeah, why don't you tell us about that?
Some pagan shit. He's like praying to a Yule tree or something. It's really odd.
It's like midsummer. Yeah, so earlier in the movie, Kevin and his mom have a conversation, and Kevin's upset. I don't know, it's just kind of tacked on. But Kevin says there's no Christmas trees in Florida.
A bold claim.
Yeah, a bold claim. In the entire state, they can't ship them in anywhere. But I think the mom has a good comeback. Well, we'll decorate a palm tree. I think it's a good comeback. But regardless, Moira remembers earlier in the script where it says Kevin wants to go see a Christmas tree for Christmas. So he goes to the biggest one in the area, Rockefeller Center. And right after Kevin says, "Dear, demon of Christmas, if you please give me back my mom, I won't want any presents anymore. I'll stop torturing the people of New York. You just give me back my mom again." And then she finds him.
Yeah. Why do you call her Moira?
Oh, Moira Rose from Schitt's Creek.
Gotcha. I'm going to cut that out. I just wanted to know.
No, it's okay. Keep it in.
It's good to know.
It's okay. We've called plenty of actors by the wrong names intentionally.
We've inserted Rosie O'Donnell into this movie, which she's not at all.
Well, like, I do it intentionally because I'm an asshole, but I'm not that stupid and drunk yet.
It's funny because someone just wrote in and saying, like, you guys pay great respect to the movies. I've listened to other podcasts where they don't even call people the right name.
Well,
I hope we don't lose that guy.
I know I don't deserve a Christmas, even if I did do a good deed. I don't want any presents. Instead, I want to take back every mean thing I ever said to my family, even if they don't take back the things that they said. I don't care. I'll love all of them, including Buzz. If it isn't possible, I can see all of them. Can I just see my mother? I'll never want another thing as long as I live. I just want my mother. I know I won't see her tonight, but promise me I can see her again. Sometime, anytime. Even if it's just once and only for a couple of minutes. I just need to tell her I'm sorry.
So here we have Kevin's arc. Same arc as the last movie, once again. He's very sorry for being such a little shithead. And the mom is sorry for, punishing him for being a shithead, I guess. They have their moment of reconnection. But the movie doesn't end there, Jonathan. That's Christmas Eve. We get to see Christmas morning in their 2-story hotel room, don't we?
Dude, that's insane. I mean, I'm guessing they're still at the Plaza, but it's an even bigger room than they had previously.
Yeah.
And they got everybody, all 14 people, all sleeping in the one room, and Fuller in the bed by himself because nobody wants to sleep with the kid who has the freaking piss pants.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Christmas morning, Duncan left them a bunch of presents.
Yeah, so that was just weird that this box truck shows up in the middle of the night in New York City with all these boxes, Christmas presents wrapped up. And who the fuck goes in and delivers a massive Christmas tree and a literal fuck ton of presents?
Literal fuck ton.
Yeah, that is a technical term.
It's a unit of measurement.
Yes.
It's the metrics, it's fine.
Yeah. It comes directly from freedom units as the type of measurement that we have fuck ton. But there's probably 50 boxes, 50 presents at least.
Mm-hmm.
How does not one single person realize that their hotel room is being loaded with all this stuff? I don't get it.
They sent in Tim Curry, the guy who can break into a room undetected.
Oh, dude. That was just, I don't know, it just seemed very unnecessary, very creepy, just kind of weird. They should have been just going home all depressed and sad that Kevin fucked up another Christmas. And we're never doing Christmas with you ever again, Kevin.
Yeah, they're converting to Islam immediately.
Yeah.
This shit really fucking irks me too. Because
Same.
It's just you don't have to actually make it that the happy ending in the Christmas movie is commercialism. McAllister privilege is the richest fucking people getting a ton of free shit in in a free hotel room, while then Kevin goes out and gives the homeless lady a fucking trinket as she's freezing by the lake trying to harvest water for her pigeons. This just sucks.
You telling me this cash grab sequel is too commercial for you?
Just put a little heart in it. The happy ending is they get a bunch of free shit. It's so stupid. I don't know. A point of my emotions.
It's so empty. It's the whole point of these Christmas movies are supposed to the message is the present, right? Family's back together and it's better to be together. But instead, on top of that, the whites win again. They're already affluent and have tons of money. And it's on top of it, all this is comped for you so that you guys have your happily ever after, instead of just the cancer kids getting their good Christmas.
Right, yeah, give the fucking presents to the cancer kids. I know that's super cheesy, but that's better.
The cancer kids are rolling in dough. They got all the money, man.
You know what? This just further drives the fact that Duncan's toy chest is the money launderer.
Yeah.
Well, the pigeon lady left alone in New York, right? Kevin says his goodbye to her, gives her the turtle dove, which, again, I think $20 would have probably taken her a little bit further. At least let her get a fucking Christmas Day meal or something,
$20 would have got her a nice bag of crack.
You think she's doing crack out there? That's the real story. She didn't tell him, right? She's like, I got addicted to drugs, kid.
She's got to be a drunk at least, man.
She does have the look, right? She
dude,
looks,
yeah, she could have got a fifth of vodka or something.
Here's to warm your bones on this Christmas morning. Some peppermint schnapps.
That's really how she's staying warm.
Or a nice bedtime story read to her.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Use it or lose it.
Oh, Dad! Kevin! You spent $967 on room service!
Now the movie ends with Buzz receiving the room service bill from the carrot himself. Right, Rob Schneider, Cedric shows up to the door, gives the room service bill. All the junk food Kevin ordered came out to $967, Jonathan. Does that sound right?
That was wild, man. One night there, like he literally spent one evening.
Oh yeah,
there
it's 15
and
minutes
racked
of
up
runtime.
$1,000. And for all things, for Peter to be pissed about, I mean, I guarantee you, the room that Kevin booked was like $10,000 a night or something,
Yeah.
and he's screaming and going apeshit over $1,000 room charge. Like, come on.
Why didn't they comp that? Like, of all the things, like, why wouldn't they comp the food? They comped everything else.
They ain't letting them get away with this one thing, you know?
Dude, Peter just probably dropped $20,000 for that massive room that they got that night. Like, and he's freaking out about $1,000.
I would think so, but I believe they said they comped that final room.
He lost way more in buying early return home Florida flights, like, and all that shit.
Yeah,
during
during busy season.
Him having to buy Christmas Day flights from Florida directly to New York for 13 people. I mean, come on, dude. He just has fuck it money.
Money is nothing to this man. He's Rob Blagojevich's like personal accountant. Like he's the most crooked person in the city of Chicago.
I'm starting to think it would be cheaper for this guy to just have his own jet.
Yeah.
This is Peter McAllister, the money launderer.
Oh, of course, sir. We know you work for Mr. Trump personally. We got it.
Yeah.
Maybe he was Epstein's accountant or something.
Yeah, him and Trump, man. They were after Christmas. See you at the island, baby.
That's really why they went to Florida.
Yeah. It's right there. Dad's going out gambling. He'll be back in 2 days.
He's going to go check on the offshore accounts.
That actually connects to a later movie, the fourth Home Alone movie, which I didn't watch, but I watched the trailer. The McAllisters get divorced. So it kind of all ties in, actually.
What?
Oh my God. Their family? No way.
Oh, we got to watch it.
Are you serious?
And so like Home Alone 3, it's not about the McAllisters at all, but Home Alone 4, it goes back to the McAllisters, and then the mom.
No Macaulay Culkin, by the way.
Yeah, no Macaulay Culkin, similar brat. And the whole plot is mom's remarrying another rich guy because she's got a type, and then like I think it's Marv again. Like it's definitely French Stewart, and it's not Marv is Daniel Stern, right? So then like yeah, it's terrible, but yeah, the plot of it is mom's getting divorced to her and marries a rich guy, and then like you know he's getting acclimated to the new stepdad, and he's rich, and they're trying to steal something from him.
Oh shit, man. What is it with French Stewart doing like shitty sequels where the original guys won't come back?
Because he's French Stewart.
Oh, that's beautiful. I guess it's somewhat comforting to know that their marriage didn't work out.
Hey, but like you guys' like fan theories are actually connecting by accident, so it's kind of working out there. Yeah, and like I started watching Home Alone 3, and that's a really weird movie because it's actually written by John Hughes, and it starts out like an espionage. It involves like a missile chip to like, you know, it's being sold to China for some kind of terrorist plot for whatever fucking reason. And then there's a 5 and a 6, which I didn't even know about. So there's tons of these movies that I've never even seen.
Home Alone 3 kind of sounds like Small Soldiers.
Yeah, it's a weird similar vibe. And supposedly, according to IMDb at least, like John Hughes wrote it for Macaulay Culkin to come back, but when he retired from acting for that, you know, for like 10, 12 years, he had to rewrite it all and then decided to make Die Hard meets Rear Window meets Home Alone. It's really weird.
I just can't believe they made 6 of these pieces of shit. That's nuts. There's only one good one.
Well, we've talked about it before, Pappy. You know, the franchises, they just need one good movie to ride forever. Mm-hmm. I mean, Jurassic Park is the classic example, but, you know, we've done those Terminator reviews here and on another podcast, and they just keep coming.
Well, like, comedies are probably the cheapest type of film to make, because you usually don't have huge set pieces and special effects and things like that. It's just you're paying the actors and then, you know, whatever. So they're easy to shell out, and then if you put the word Christmas somewhere in there, it makes a lot of money. So lucratively. You know, it makes sense. You know what? Probably Mr. McAllister's probably his job is bankrolling these fucking movies, like Christmas movies.
The most lucrative industry of all. Yeah.
This is interesting. According to Wikipedia, in July 2018, Ryan Reynolds was attached to produce Stoned Alone, an R-rated Home Alone sequel film. Blah, 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 was canceled after Disney's acquisition of 21st Century Fox.
Can't imagine why.
We could have had 7. It's too bad.
Well, guys, before we go into ratings, do you have any final thoughts on Home Alone? Jonathan?
I do. I got a couple I want to share. I feel like they missed an opportunity for Tim Curry to bring a red balloon to Kevin.
Yes.
You know?
Dude.
That would have been kind of a cool homage to pay.
Dude, I would have loved that. That would have made me so happy.
Yeah.
The 1990 It miniseries, maybe not the best example of a movie or TV movie in the world, but one very near and dear to my heart. Also
Absolutely.
a spoilers episode, so
Yep.
Classic.
I also feel like when the bandits were covered in varnish, which is highly flammable at the end of the prank scene, it would have been awesome to see them get lit up with the fireworks instead of covered in birdseed.
Dude, there's a moment when they fall down the rope, you know, the rope's
Yeah.
on fire and they fall down and they're covered in it, right?
Yeah.
And Kevin is standing above them. And for a brief moment, I was like, what if he just lit a match and tossed it on him?
That would have been epic. Like, and then the phone call to 911 would have been like, hey, where the two guys are on fire, that's where they are. Like
the two bodies.
Yeah.
I think that would have been very in character with Kevin, too, to do that, to execute them that way.
It'd have been so 90s if Kevin was like smoking a cigarette and just flicks it at them and lights them on fire.
That was Macaulay Culkin in his 20s.
Yeah, well, if this was The Good Son, it definitely would have been that.
One last thought. Imagine if the McAllisters were Jewish and Kevin was up to these shenanigans for 8 days. Dude. That would have been wild.
Yeah, the movie 8 Crazy Nights already exists.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
You know what? It didn't at the time.
8 Crazy Nights alone. I did come up with a question I wanted to ask you guys, though.
Yeah.
It is super on the spot. But, and this is kind of Tim Curry inspired, but what about really great actors that were in shitty sequels, like Tim Curry was in Home Alone 2?
Oh.
Speaking of Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, I think the second one, Fallen Kingdom, has Buffalo Bill himself in that movie, and he plays like a kind of like the great like white American like hope kind of hunter, and he gets like devoured by a velociraptor. And then also with Lost World, Jurassic Park, you have Pete Postlethwaite, like that one Irish actor. So there you go. There's some Jurassic Park connections of like good actors and creepy actors who are underutilized.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of like that role was really beneath their abilities, you know. It's like, hey, you're a top tier actor. What are you doing in these, you know, B-rated films here?
I think one of the famous ones is Michael Caine. Michael Caine was in one of the shitty Jaws sequels. Which one was it, Ronnie? I feel like it's
The fourth one, The Revenge.
The Revenge. Yeah, so like, I feel like that's a good example, you know, classic actor Michael Caine, kind of thought highly of.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, all the Jaws sequels are bullshit, but where does The Revenge fall in the pantheon of Jaws sequels? Is that one of the worst ones?
Well, 2, like, to me, like, 2's, like, just not good. Like, I don't know. To me, Jaws is, like, one of my favorite movies of all time. So 2's, like, a bland. 3 is a Nightmare, which we did a podcast on, the 3D version. It's just, like, goddamn awful.
Oh, yeah, we did one, too, yeah.
Yeah, we did, like, a commentary track with that one. It's amazing.
But Jaws: The Revenge is like the opening is really creepy, where like the son Sean gets like eaten, and after that it's all really bland. But Michael Caine notoriously like said about the movie, you know, sometimes you do a Jaws sequel for the paycheck kind of thing. Like, you know, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Pappy? Do any come to mind?
I was trying to think. I couldn't think of any, but it just feel like money talks, right? Honestly, Jaws 3D was the first one I thought of, because isn't Costner in that?
Quaid, Dennis Quaid.
Dennis Quaid, the other Quaid. I don't know. I mean, like, you could say like the Eternals too, right? Like, I feel like that was a good cast of people I generally like.
That's a great cast, like in a very bland script.
Mm-hmm.
feel like this is your bread and butter, Ronnie. There's got to be some that come to your mind, right?
I just listened to your guys' podcast on Frankenstein and like Robert De Niro being totally miscasted. But like, I didn't see the movie, but like, I don't think the problem is the movie itself. I think the problem is just bad casting. He's just not fit for that role.
Oh, what's the Genesis? Christian Bale in that Terminator? That's pretty bad.
Terminator Salvation?
Salvation, that's the one.
Yeah, dude. I think every Terminator sequel has at least one example of this, actually.
Yeah.
Like Terminator 3, obviously Arnold came back. He was the big draw in that movie. That movie is a absolute nightmare piece of shit comedy that it deviates from the original two so far. It ruined the rest of the Terminator movies down the line. It like corrupted the movies. Obviously, Terminator Salvation has Christian Bale, fantastic actor, does nothing in that movie. Bryce Dallas Howard, totally wasted in Terminator Salvation. Hottest woman of all time. Don't do anything with her.
Really?
Oh, you're not a fan or what?
No, I don't think she's ugly. I'm just like, that's the hottest woman of all time.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
You like the pale. Okay.
Dude, Terminator.
Corey's number 2 is Miley Cyrus.
Absolutely.
So
Dude, what?
that gives you something to
Don't
compare
question
to.
my taste in women. Number 3 is Pigeon Lady.
Shit covered bitches. Got it.
Terminator Genesis has fucking J.K. Simmons. Yeah, I mean, absolutely wasted. Nothing. He's basically a knockoff of Dr. Silverman. Complete waste. And then Terminator Dark Fate.
Yeah.
Brings back Linda Hamilton. Waste again.
I have a personal dislike of Adam Sandler, so like Jack Nicholson and Anger Management.
Oh, okay. I think that's...
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I like that combo.
I think Adam Sandler has far worse movies than that. So for me, in like the list of Sandler comedies, I think that one's maybe upper to mid tier because some of his movies are so bad that they're, to me, like are basically unwatchable.
Yeah, but I'm talking about sequels though.
Sequels.
Anger Management wasn't a sequel.
So, okay, well then Anchorman 2 is like 100% like a cameo fest, and like that script the script is like does not deserve. Same with like Zoolander 2. All like those like 10-year too late sequels, maybe Dumber and Dumber 2, I never saw that. But like all those like too late comedy sequels, they had like instead of having a good script, I think just bringing a bunch of actors to like say 5 lines is like funny enough to make it work.
Fair enough. That was all I got.
Back to final thoughts on Home Alone 2. Pappy, do you have any?
I just have one. I won't make you guys think, but it's kind of like on a similar line of TV tropes. And like, I could only think of like Babe, Pig in the Big City as an example, but it's like that Pig in the Big City syndrome, right? Where it's like, you know these characters you love? Well, now they're going to be in New York City or something like that, right? Like it's just
like Jason. Like...
Yeah. Yes. Muppets Go to Manhattan too. It's like always like a big deal and like in the title. So I don't know. It's just they don't make them like that anymore, Corey.
That Big Apple.
Yeah.
Like the whole fish out of water kind of like plot. It's like take these small characters, put them in a big scenario, wacky hijinks ensued.
Mm-hmm.
Ronnie, any final thoughts on Home Alone 2?
Only that, like, since I rewatched the original one, I don't know. A standout to me, the original one, is John Candy. He makes a really good cameo because his connection to Macaulay Culkin from Uncle Buck, and like I think he's like insanely hilarious, playing like this kind of silly polka player, and like
yes.
Even though I love Tim Curry, but like the cameo's not the same. It's not as funny, and it has actually a plot connection. Like John Candy gets Catherine O'Hara, Kevin's mom, back home, so like the comedy connects to that, and John Candy's like beyond hilarious in that scene, and it's like a memorable thing from the first one I really love.
It's really good. It's actually like funny in a very like kind of subtle way, like his kind of awkwardness. He's like, we had a couple hits back in the day, and he starts like naming his songs, and she's like, I don't know, and he's like,
Kenosha Kickers.
Yeah, he's like, come on, he's like really like hoping for some like crumb of like, oh, you're that guy, like. And he's not getting it is good.
And then like in the next scene when they're like driving in the van, they're playing the music and it's terrible, and then he goes into like this long story I think is improvised actually, where he talks about he and his wife leave their kid at a funeral parlor for like 6 hours and then they come back for him and he's traumatized. No big deal. It's a really great scene.
Yeah. That like little bit of comedy, like separated from the primary narrative, was something kind of missing from this movie, you know? But that was Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. Before we go into ratings, I just want to say there's been a lot of listeners that have wrote in, people that run other podcasts in a lot of cases, that have asked to collaborate with me. And I realized the other day that I haven't gotten back with any of you. So I've responded to your messages, and I said we will at some point, and I never followed up on that. So I want to apologize, and two, I want to say if you're one of those podcasts that wrote in and said let's do a collaboration, and you just haven't heard from me for whatever, a year or however long it's been, message me again and let's get this set up, because I'm just really bad at keeping track of scheduling stuff. There's always a lot of plates spinning with podcasts for me, because not only do I do this show, but I am a member of another podcast, and I'm always trying to schedule, and it's one of my least favorite things about podcasting, scheduling. So anyway, write me back and we'll get things going, guys. There's a few of you out there I know. Now we're going to go into ratings, and I'm going to go to Pappy first on any rating scale you want. What are you going to give Home Alone 2, Lost in New York?
I'm going to give this 2 pigeon shits out of 5 on Rosie O'Donnell's shoulder. It's just pretty soulless. And I think I'm feeling extra annoyed thinking about this movie, because on Disney Plus, there's now all these little suggested tiles. And I see 4 different children doing the Macaulay Culkin pose of holding their hands to their face with a shocked expression, and all of these, not that I've seen them, but this one in particular is just a degenerative clone from what is, I think, a pretty legitimate holiday classic. There's just there's no world in which I will put on Home Alone 2, Lost in New York City over the original Home Alone. Just won't happen. This is spoilers. I'd give it a no, but I'll just give it 2 bird shits.
I'm going to go next, and I'm going to give this movie 6 out of 10 Marv skeletons.
Nice.
After being electrocuted. Skeletons with a beard. I think that's a little bit on the high side for what this movie is. And the reason it's a little bit on the high side is because it somehow snuck its way into being a holiday classic by being, I think, a movie that people of my generation just grew up on. It was marketed enough to where it made, a lot of money. It copied the original enough to where people considered it to be maybe a little disappointing, but a decent enough sequel. So the nostalgia of my generation is super strong, and we have latched onto it. So it's kind of been a recurring holiday movie in a lot of households of millennials, and we've shown it to our kids. So they have a special place for Home Alone 1 and 2. I don't think any millennials are going beyond 2, being honest, but there's a deep nostalgia connection with this movie, not just for me, but people of my generation. And I'm sure you guys are no exception. It might not be the same exact way as it is for me, but this movie had that kind of millennial cultural impact. Now, the movie's okay. There's occasionally some funny stuff in here. We talked about the Marv scene, the whole basis of my rating scale with him getting electrocuted. That is an absolute highlight. It's just kind of a creative bit of filmmaking that I'm just glad that Chris Columbus took the time to insert. It could have just been him getting shocked, but no, you got to kind of take it the extra mile, do something outside of the script and have that happen. That is a good moment. There's not that many of those, and it is kind of repetitive. There's scenes that should just be removed altogether, and then there's scenes that go on too long. The pigeon lady thing, it's just contrived and try hard. So not the best for sure, but I think it's okay. It kind of sneaks its way in. Its quality, I think, is kind of riding off of the original Home Alone, and some of us kind of attach these 2 movies in our mind, right? The memory of them is kind of them together since we saw them around the same age. So that's all I got for that. I'm going to go over to you, Ronnie, on any rating scale you want. What's it going to be?
I'm going to give this film 4 out of 10 bricks to the face. To me, personally, a sequel has to, break new ground, and usually, it's going to be take a different approach to it. Comedy sequels, at least for the very absolute bare minimum is like to be funny or as interesting as the original one. And to me, it's not. It's, I think, like you said, Corey, a lot of nostalgia is tied to the original one, because I'm not a big fan of a lot of Christmas movies because they're very sappy, but I legitimately enjoy Home Alone 1. I enjoyed rewatching it the other day. It's fun. It's funny. You know, it's got this little message, and I think it's a very tight script, and it's got a memorable premise of, you know, burglars and Looney Tunes antics. And this one's like a carbon copy that doesn't make its own way enough, and it's not really memorable to me. So I don't think it's terrible, but if I rewatch it in the future for Christmas, it'll be in the background while I'm doing something probably more important.
All right, right on. And last but not least, Jonathan. Any rating scale you want. Go ahead, man.
Oh, man. I don't think there's very much else to say. Everybody else has kind of touched on everything that I would have wanted to say already. That said, I'm not going to go out of my way to watch this movie, but if it's on, I'm not going to not turn it off, probably, if I'm in the season and maybe there's nothing else to watch. And with that, I'm going to give it 1 10-year-old grabbing ass of a grown woman out of 2. That's all it's going to get.
2 10-year-olds grabbing ass out of 2 would be excessive, you know?
Way too excessive.
Yeah, in many ways, yeah.
Yep.
Well, thank you very much. And as a quick note, I just want to say, like, the influence of Home Alone is insane. And many people don't think about this, but this type of movie with, like, the trouble kid getting up to shenanigans and doing pranks, you know, there's tons of these movies, Dennis the Menace, Blank Check, etc., Three Ninjas, and its many sequels. The original was actually Problem Child, the original 90s bad kid movie for my money. It actually came out before Home Alone. Although they were kind of being made at the same time. That being said, Home Alone was a bigger deal, and I think more influential. And goddamn, did we see tons of clones of this movie throughout the 90s. So, before we wrap up, I want to allow our special guests here to shout out the podcast they do. Pappy, what is it that you do? Where can people find you?
Oh, I do all kinds of things, but the best place for people to find me would be either here on Big Dumb Movie, usually on some of the kids' movies, or on Spoilers, where you can also hear more of Corey. I don't know, similar format, spoilers with an explanation point. And as always, like I said, if you've listened to this much Big Dumb Movie, the least you can do is like the episode. You should be at least leaving a review. It means a lot for independent media folk, such as ourselves. But Spoilers, Big Dumb Movie, just Google me. I'm out there.
Google Pappy.
Yeah, just Google Pappy.
Similarly, Ronnie, you have a podcast, Wasted Potential. I've been on that episode. We talked about Bloodsport and The Quest in the same episode most recently. But where can people find you? And why don't you just kind of talk about what it is you guys do over there?
Well, the best place to find me would be on this podcast, because our podcast is god-awful. But if you're that intrigued, go to Wasted Potential Podcast. You can find us on YouTube, all the podcast places. My buddy Shane and I, and oftentimes Hobo Dan, who's actually in this film, covered in birdseed. In the background, you don't see him. He's offering fellatio to Kevin at one point. But if you enjoyed this awful brand of comedy where I offend all the states possible, check us out there. We do commentary tracks where we get drunk and play games and provide no educational information about movies. Or the real fun ones are the ones that Corey's talking about, where like we call them glass half full, where like we kind of do deep dives into films we actually enjoy, or into series we enjoy. They're bloated, but they're more fun. Check out the Rocky one with Corey. Corey and I actually do a great episode on
I Saw the Devil.
I Saw the Devil, which is a great film. We do a deep dive into the Halloween, Exorcist, and then the James Bond ones. But yeah, check us out there. Follow us on Instagram. Got rid of my ex account because that was a toxic environment. So appreciate it. And thanks for having me, Corey. It's always fun.
Absolutely. And thank you all again for being here. Jonathan is here in person in the studio. You guys are remote, of course, but thank you guys for joining me for this Christmas episode. I'm glad I'm doing one this year. It's something I often miss, is putting out a legitimate Christmas episode, so I thank you. If you, the listeners, want to write in, you can email me at bigdumbmovie@gmail.com, or what most people do is they just DM me on Instagram at bigdumbmoviepodcast. But the best thing you can do for this podcast is leave a positive rating and written review on Apple Podcasts. Doing that helps out a lot. Please do so. I haven't gotten reviews for a really long time, although I know you guys are out there listening. If you don't have an iPhone and you can't do it, you know someone that does, just be like, let me borrow your phone real quick. And then leave us one, and then leave it at that. Don't tell them what you did. Also, YouTube. We're on YouTube. You may not listen there, but you see our videos come up. Subscribe to our channel and give us thumbs up when you see a new episode released. Again, even if you don't listen there, just these things will help get the podcast some traction. So that's all we got. Thank you very much for listening. We love you, and good night.
Big Dumb Movie with your host Korey, breathing in nostalgia in all of its glory. Watching movies like The Terminator. I'll be back with reviews later with some guests. Steve's your savior.